Coming up on the show, I hope you had a great weekend. Let me tell you what's coming up on the show. The brutal murder of the country's and arguably the world's first openly gay Muslim cleric, that is Mohsin Hendricks, has sent shockwaves across the country and around the globe. While police are still investigating, many believe his killing to have been a hate crime. 58-year-old Hendricks was gunned down in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape on Saturday. Social and human rights activist Zaki Ahmad will reflect on Hendricks's killing with me, and that conversation is coming up at about 20 to 7. Who pays the piper, really? Political party funding heads back to the courts once again as the Western Cape Division of the High Court is this week set to hear arguments around the limitations of the Political Party Funding Act. Civil society organization My Vote Counts is challenging the constitutionality of the act, saying that all private donations to political parties, big and small, should be publicly disclosed. And we'll have that conversation with My Vote Counts, and that's coming up at about 7 a.m. Remember the thresholds. So a donation in cash or kind that amounts to 100,000 rand needs to be disclosed through the Electoral Commission, and donations are kept by an individual up to 15 million rand. But My Vote Counts feels that, even that is allowing for a lot of unaccountability, a lack of transparency. And I want to hear from you. It's been about 4 years or so of these quarterly reports coming out disclosing who has donated what to each of the political parties in our country. Do you get a sense that the democratic hygiene that this was meant to introduce has been infused in our country? Do you have that confidence that you know who pays the political parties that you support and those that you oppose, and what their motive is? Do you even pay attention to these reports? Do you feel that it has helped with a sense of transparency and perhaps removing that element of corruption in the funding of political parties? I'd love to hear your reflections on this. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes, please send those to 061 410 4107. And then a bit later on in the show at about 20 past 8, we have a conversation lined up for you with Errol Musk. Errol Musk is the father of Elon Musk, and basically what we're trying to do is to fly as close as possible to the political and ideological orbit of the man known as Elon Musk, right? We're trying to understand what informs his thinking about contemporary issues in South Africa and perhaps even in the United States at the moment. So Errol Musk will talk to us at about 20 past 8. He has done a few interviews. He's done the podcast circuit. He's not an uncontroversial man, is Errol Musk, right? Let's say that out and out. His views on some issues can be deemed to be controversial. But what we are trying to do is really, as I said, sail as close as possible to the orbit, the political and ideological orbit of the man whose decisions and influence actually is quite palpable and tangible at the moment in issues that do affect this country as well. So we'll limit ourselves to that. That conversation, look out for it. It's coming out at about, it's coming up at about 20 past 8. Of course, we have all of your regulars locked and loaded for you on this Monday morning. And Musa with your news updates every half hour. Rob Byrne with your traffic every 15 minutes or so. Zaikan is watching your sport throughout the morning. Dauleng Lechela has your economics, business and market news covered. And Sipho Mantula, of course, with your Africa update just before 8 a.m. Your reflections on these and other issues, feel free to bring them and put them on the table. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes, please send those to 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The first hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
Over the last 50 years, one man has played an unparalleled part in transforming British society. This man is Rupert Murdoch. Feared by politicians, Murdoch has built the biggest media operation on the planet. His empire has given him extraordinary power and influence. The rise of the Murdoch family is an electrifying study of the Murdoch dynasty, charting the ups and downs of an empire. From the ambition that fueled its success, to the criminality that led to the closure of the News of the World and the Leveson Inquiry. This is The Rise of the Murdoch Family. Thursdays at 10 p.m. starts 13 February, only on S3.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Daily News Diary on SAFM.
Hey, and good morning to you.
Good morning to
How
us.
was your weekend?
It was good. How was yours?
Yeah, it was all right.
Go running? Did you go running?
No.
Okay.
This weather is just putting a damp now on everything, hey?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What's on your diary this morning?
Well, Malema's address at the St. Paul African Apostolic Church, and Malema sending a stern warning to the US President Donald Trump as well as Elon Musk, saying that he's not deterred by Musk's call for him to be declared an international criminal and that he won't be bullied into changing his views on land expropriation without compensation. Malema has again reiterated his call for the withdrawal of the SANDF from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The South African Weather Service has issued a level 5 warning, and that's for severe thunderstorms expected over the central and eastern parts of the country. Motorists urged to exercise caution on the road. And with the ongoing water crisis in Johannesburg forcing many residents to turn to boreholes, a stern warning issued to residents that those who damage Gautrain infrastructure will face serious consequences, and this is after an underground tunnel was compromised by a private property owner that was drilling a borehole above it and causing water and soil seepage. And this incident has now forced the suspension of Gautrain services between Park Station and Rosebank. Buses, however, will be running every 15 minutes between the two stations from 5:30 this morning until 8:30 in the evening, and this as a contingency measure. Advocacy group My Vote Counts is challenging the Political Funding Act in the Western Cape High Court today, and the organization claims that the act falls short of its constitutional goals of openness and accountability. My Vote Count is objecting to the provisions that allow donations below the 100,000 rand remain undisclosed, and is seeking to reinstate the 15 million rand annual donation cap. There's also an outbreak of hand, foot and mouth disease at more than 10 institutions of learning in northern Durban, or in the north of Durban rather, affecting daycares, primary schools, and at least 117 cases have been confirmed. We know that the KZN Health Department has started with screening at schools, and parents have been asked to keep infected children at home until the symptoms go away. And the new minimum wage is set to come into effect from the 1st of next month, and this change is expected to impact a wide range of industries, and the new minimum wage has been set at 28 Rand 79 cents per hour. That's from the previous rate, which was 27 Rand 58 cents. And employers across the country, they've been urged to familiarize themselves with the new regulation, and it is to ensure compliance. So some of the stories that we will be focusing on this morning.
All right, thank you for that. And that story around the Gautrain is extraordinary. I mean, if you own a property, you know very well about these issues of servitudes that run on your land.
Mm-hmm. But you say we know, but seemingly they don't know.
I was listening to the CEO of the Gautrain Management Agency, Tsepo Khobe, earlier on, speaking to Elvis Presley, and I was just struck by that surely when it comes to your title deed and any other documentation, it tells you straight up there's a servitude that runs underground. because of this Gautrain. And you just go and drill.
Wanting
Incredible.
water also.
Yeah, that's the other difficulty.
True.
All right, Anne. That's Anne Musa there. She'll keep you updated with your news every half hour here on the Morning Brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
So you heard there from Anne what the South African Weather Service is warning about. So let me tell you, we've got 3 warnings. The first one is an orange level 5 warning. It says disruptive rainfall resulting in flooding of informal settlements, low-lying areas and bridges, as well as dirt roads, and that is expected in places over the central parts of the northwest and southern parts of Gauteng. The second one, yellow level 4 warning, disruptive rainfall resulting in flooding of informal settlements, low-lying areas and bridges, as well as dirt roads, is expected in places over the northwest, except in the central parts, extreme northern parts of the Free State, northern parts of Gauteng, as well as the extreme western parts of Mpumalanga and the southwestern parts of Limpopo. The last one is a yellow level 2 warning. It says disruptive rainfall resulting in localized flooding of informal settlements, low-lying areas and bridges, as well as dirt roads, and that is expected in places over the western parts of Mpumalanga and southern parts of Limpopo. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 20. Johannesburg, cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, 15 to 18. Mbombela will see fog in the morning, otherwise cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 19 to 24. Polokwane will be cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 18 to 21. Mahikeng will be cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, 17 to 20. Bloemfontein will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 26. Kimberley, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 20 to 29. Uppington will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 22 to 35. Cape Town will be fine, 19 to 26. George will be cloudy with fog in the morning and evening, otherwise partly cloudy, 17 to 24. Gqeberha will be fine, 19 to 26. East London, partly cloudy, 20 to 29. Durban will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 24 to 29. Richards Bay will be partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 24 to 31. And finally, Pietermaritzburg will see morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 18 to 30.
With Ford's Blue Sky offers, get a new Ranger XL from just $5,899 per month, including our optional service plan, only when financed through Ford Credit. 10% deposit, prime list 4.75%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers, where our Ford Family Guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. Ford Credit is a registered credit provider and an authorized financial services provider. T&Cs apply.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matriek mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
22 minutes after 6. So this story is moving rather rapidly, both on the negotiation front but also on the battlefront. Over the weekend, Russian drone strikes in the south of Ukraine have left tens of thousands of civilians without heat as temperatures plummet below freezing point. This is according to Ukrainian Ukrainian officials who have condemned the attack as an intentional attempt to create a humanitarian crisis. In response, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has emphasized the broader impact of Russia's ongoing attacks on civilian infrastructure. I'm joined now by Professor Abel Esterhuizen, who is a member of the Department of Strategic Studies in the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University. Good morning to you once again, Prof, and thank you for your time. I was saying in my prelude there that the story is moving rather rapidly on both fronts, both in the negotiation side, on the negotiation side as well as on the battlefront. But let's start on the battlefront. The use of drones, I think you and I touched on this a few weeks ago, and it was by Ukraine at the time. It continues this time with Russia using drones extensively in the south of Ukraine. Just tell me about that use of drones and its impact in shifting the battlefield.
Yeah, I think the reality here is that both sides have run out of personnel to a large extent. Russia not so much because they don't have it. Russia has the personnel capacity, but it's not trained. Ukraine have simply run out of people. That's the reality. So both of them are focusing on the dronification part, and to a large extent, we have seen that drones have replaced air power, or drones then is the new air power. They have basically taken the human out of the plane, and so this is just a continuation. The dronification, in many ways, is a continuation of the use of air power in war at the moment. So we see the war in essence playing out through the use of air power, or then the dronification, because both sides simply has that capacity. They have it, and they use it. The ground war, for all practical purposes, is grinding slowly from the Russian side. They're making progress on the ground, but it's slow, and it's eating away manpower.
Yeah, say a bit more about that progress on the ground. I was looking at the BBC doing some extensive reporting on that, talking about how the map on the Eastern Front has changed over the period of the last year. The war itself is approaching its third anniversary on the 24th of February, but it seems that there is some steady progress that Russia is making on the Eastern Front, isn't it?
Yeah, there's progress on the Russian side, but what we have seen is that the Ukraine side is deliberate in what they are doing in the ground war, and let me explain it in this way. Ukraine is deliberate in pulling back, and by pulling back, they actually forces the Russians to get out of their trenches. And the moment they get out of their trenches, they are, of course, vulnerable. So what the Ukrainians are doing is simply to trade ground for destruction, if I can put it like that. They're deliberate in pulling back, and by pulling back, the Russians have to expose themselves, and that allows them to kill Russians, if I can use it, can explain it in that way. So here's a very deliberate strategy, but in the progress, Russia is slowly but surely eating into the Ukraine territory, no doubt about that.
And how important does it all become? Because, from the maps on the desks of generals, we're now going to the tactics on the negotiation table. There's a lot of moving parts in as far as that is concerned. That Russia-US meeting that's going to take place in Saudi Arabia, where, the Ukrainians are not necessarily invited, but we are told they will be taking part in the negotiation. How important does ground covered and held in the battlefield become in the negotiation game?
Well, it becomes an essential negotiation tool for whoever is occupying ground. And we know that Ukraine is sitting with or ground that they are occupying in Russia at the moment in the north. So it's a negotiation tool for both sides. Of course, here the major question dominating the political side is the extent to which both the Europeans and Ukraine have sort of been sidelined by the Americans through Trump's direct contact with Putin and the US and Russia starting to talk about what is going on in Ukraine. And I have to be honest, leaving the Europeans out and leaving the Ukrainians out of the negotiation process, in my view, is not progress. It's not going to bring the war to an end if you, in essence, leaving one party to the conflict out of the negotiation process. And we have seen over the weekend, last week at the Munich conference, that the Europeans and the Ukrainians, they're really uncomfortable with the way in which Trump is now taking the negotiation process.
Yeah, and there's a great deal of talk, Prof, just as a parting shot, about what happens once a truce is secured, right? One way or another. There's the complexity you were describing now of the feeling by Zelensky and Ukraine that they are being left out of these negotiations and saying that they will never accept a deal negotiated between Trump and Putin, or those two sides, Russia and the US, without Ukraine's participation. The Europeans, as you say, are worried as well. But there's talk about a post-truce Ukraine situation. And you're hearing Keir Starmer, for example, talking about the possibility of even deploying British troops on the ground to secure that peace after the truce. Do you foresee any of that being workable, Europe playing a bigger role in securing and guaranteeing that there's no flare-up a few weeks or few months after the truce is secured?
Well, there's no doubt that there will be some form of peacekeeping troops deployed to that area, and I have no doubt that troops is to come from Europe, or to come from Europe. But what is quite clear here is that the Americans have been very explicit that there will be no American boots on the ground. Trump is really emphasizing the point that he's not going to involve America in any war, in any conflict again. He doesn't want to spend money on military expeditions at the moment, so it's definitely not going to be military or American troops. So yeah, that troops is probably going to come from Europe. And the question is, to what extent, Russia will be comfortable with that. Russia will accept that because, for all practical purposes, it's going to militarize that border, wherever that border is, to sort of will be in the Ukraine. Yeah. But Russia will probably be uncomfortable with European troops.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I wanted you to bring out. Thank you for that. Professor Abel Esterhuizen is a member of the Department of Strategic Studies in the Faculty of Military Science at Stellenbosch University. Let's check in now with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, as the new minimum wage is set to come into effect from the 1st of next month, the change is expected to impact a wide range of industries. Gautrain has announced a significant scale-up of its bus services between Rosebank and Park Station. Buses will run every 15 minutes between the two stations from 5:30 in the morning until 8:30 in the evening as a contingency measure. And the EFF leader, Julius Malema, has called on government to withdraw the South African National Defence Force from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Malema's call comes as 14 SNDF soldiers lost their lives in the DRC last month. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It's a wet one, wet start to the week across Gauteng province, and we can see just traffic popping all over the show this morning. The rain causes crashes, obviously, and that's just going to exacerbate the travel times. Make sure you've got plenty of time to get through. We're looking at a crash on the N3 north at Galulis. That's big coming out of Germiston and Alberton areas. Also the N12 R24, it's into Galulis. A little crash there is just being cleared, but the traffic's pretty heavy. A breakdown coming through from Benoni into Boksburg, N12 at Atlas. That's heavy. That's already back to Snake Road. A crash on the M1 North at Gordon Road, holding you up out of Soweto on your way through to Randburg this morning. And a crash and a breakdown on the N1 South near Olifantsfontein this morning. That's why the N1 is so badly backed up from John Foster. That's the second queue that you'll face. The first one is between the N4 Emelathleti Highway and the R21. There's a crash on that section of the N1 South. So two crash scenes to work through on your way between Pretoria and Joburg, and it is pretty heavily backed up. Durban this morning, a fatal crash on the M7 going down towards Bluff Road, so just watch for some delays there. And Cape Town Baden-Powell Drive, well, it's been a windy weekend, so sand all over the roadway at Coastal Park. Also at Sandy Corner, that's the bottom of Monwabisi, and if you use Baden-Powell through Monwabisi, through that Sandy Corner, there are some traffic control measures. Cape Town Traffic Services there with some stop-go controls to get you through safely. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey Zai, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How was your weekend?
Oh, it was the weekend of sport indoors. Couch potato.
Yeah, that's it. That's the plan. That was a good plan. Yeah. So you and I were wondering whether the last 16 of the Nedbank Cup was going to produce any major upsets. Not really. It didn't happen. No. Certainly not in the case of Sundowns.
Yeah, there was no cup set. You know, they usually call it like that. But unfortunately, Penny home defenders, well, they had to go home. It was that kind of game. Sundowns had 10 men, but they still look like a full house. 2-0, the final score over Penny home defenders. Tashreeq Matthews opened the scoring. And that was with a slick backheel finish from Arthur Sell's cross, which gave Masandawana that early lead. Batusi Obas then doubled the tally before the halfway mark. And the drama didn't stop there. Matthews went from hero to zero, receiving a second yellow card. And, even with 10 men, Sundowns managed to keep control. Dennis Onyango making some saves to deny Lucky Boasi. So the Brazilians now advance to the quarterfinals. Here's their coach, Miguel Cardoso.
This kind of games are games, obviously, where you want to get the performance. And I think first half was quite okay. Obviously, the game changed in the second one. And what we did in terms of managing the game with less one player was absolutely normal. They arrived on our box with long balls, only from most of them from some situations where we even put players in the front trying to score the third one, and we coped with this easily.
Let's go to soccer action elsewhere. Liverpool extending their lead at the top of the Premier League, and that was to 7 points with a trickier than expected 2-1 win over Wolves, and that took place yesterday. There was courtesy of goals of Luis Diaz and Mo Salah. In the meantime, Tottenham Hotspur beat Man United 1-0 to end their long winless run at home and expose the problems facing United's Ruben Amorim and his injury-hit squad. Here's the Tottenham Hotspur boss, Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, look, I think the important thing is we did win today. That was kind of, it was an important game for us, an important week for us. We needed to sort of put on a performance today that gets us the result, and I thought we did that, and that coupled with the fact that we got some significant players back and they got through the game and got through unscathed and actually, really contributed. Important for us because, as I said, it sort of signals a little bit of an opportunity now for us to push on from here.
Tennis action. Serbia's Mimomir Kekmanovic won the ATP 250 Delray Beach Open in Florida, battling back from a set down to defeat Alejandro Davidovich of Fokina of Spain 3-6, 6-1, 7-5. And France's Hugo Humbert successfully defending his Marseille ATP title, securing a 7th career crown with a straight sets defeat of Hamad Medovic in the final 7-6, 6-4. And that's a wrap of your morning brief. Sport will swing by and serve you more at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Hey, Ndaulen, good morning to you. I hope you had a great weekend.
Morning, Thulas. I did. I hope you also had a lovely one.
It was okay, man. It was indoors mostly. The rain was just, dampening everything. Ndawling, tell me about Broadcom and TSMC. And you're saying that they're exploring deals that would split up Intel. What's that about?
That's right, Tula. So rumor has it Intel rivals Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company and Broadcom are considering potential deals to break up the company. According to sources, Broadcom is eyeing Intel's chip design and marketing business, while TSMC is interested in taking control of Intel's chip plants, but both companies are still in the preliminary stages of discussion and no formal agreement has been made. The potential deals have sparked concerns from the US government, which views Intel as critical to national security. Now, the Trump administration has expressed reservations about Intel's US chip factories being operated by a foreign entity. Intel's interim executive chair, Frank Yeary, has been leading discussions with potential suitors and government officials. Yeary has stated that this primary focus is on maximizing value for Intel shareholders. Now, these developments come as Intel faces significant challenges, of course, including increased competition and a strained cash flow. The company shares lost 60% of their value last year, leading to a major restructuring effort, including a 15% workforce reduction.
A lot of people will be heaving a sigh of relief that this news comes after Valentine's Day. Darling, chocolate prices are poised to climb, and you're saying this has to do with a cocoa shortfall.
So the world's cocoa supply is under threat, to us, driving prices to high levels. Now, cocoa prices have reached over $12,000 per ton during the Christmas season and now are hovering around $10,000 since then. So, the lovers might have felt a bit of that surge come through on Friday. The surge has left chocolate makers reeling, particularly in Belgium, where some 280 chocolate companies are struggling to cope. Philippe Desillier, head of Leonides, described the price increase as absolutely spectacular. And Dominique Persoon, who owns a chocolate line within Belgium, reported a 20% increase in chocolate prices over the past year. Now, experts attribute the price surge to climate change and disease commodity speculation, rising aridity in regions like northeastern Brazil and West Africa, which accounts for about 70% of global cocoa production, is also weighing on the industry. Meanwhile, sugar prices have also rallied, hitting a 2-month high last week due to concerns about Brazil's sugar crop, which is being impacted by below average rainfall, which could lead to delayed harvest and reduced production. Now, the outlook doesn't look great, with experts warning of even higher prices, particularly for cocoa. So we could be spending a bit more on our fave sweet treats moving forward.
So Valentine's Day 2026 might be a bit problematic for many people. Give us our first roundup of the market activity for this morning, please, Ntauling.
So the U.S. stock market experienced a mixed day on Friday, with major indexes falling slightly after disappointing report on retail sales. But the market managed to score weekly gains as investors looked past concerns over President Trump's tariffs and persistent inflation. And then coming back home, markets closing in the green, ending the week on a high. The all-share gaining 1%, boosted by a 2.1% jump in the industrial 25. The rand also making gains, but risks remain as traders eye the upcoming budget. It's currently sitting at 18.36 to the dollar this hour. Over in Asia, markets mostly in the green as concerns over a global trade war eased after President Trump decided to delay the implementation of new reciprocal tariff plans.
Always right on the money. That's Ntauling Lechela. She'll be back with a second update for you for the morning. Look out for that just after 7:30 here on the Morning Brief.
Upgrade your TV game with the SABC TV License Rewards. It's your golden ticket to VIP treatment. Imagine signing up at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za, breezing through a few steps, and bam! Instant reward. Just for being you. Plus, pocket up to 500 Rand back. That's the cherry on top. But wait, it's not just about the cash. We're talking about sweet deals and epic rewards. Think discounts on all your favorite things, from shopping to travel and entertainment. Your payment unlocks a world of fun. So, why wait? Dive into the excitement. Join the SABC's TV License Rewards at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za. Hit those buttons and watch your TV experience level up. T's and C's apply. Remember, TV license fees aren't just payments, they make a difference.
V up your February with great value deals from Vodacom Business. Meet the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra featuring integrated Galaxy AI. Get it on a Red Business 1.5 gig plan for only 1,539 Rand per month over 24 months. Enhance your deal. Add 69 Rand extra per month and get the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom Business.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
16 minutes to 7 on this Monday morning. The brutal murder of the country's and arguably the world's first openly gay Muslim cleric, Mohsin Hendricks, has sent shockwaves across the country and around the world. While police are still investigating, many believe his killing to have been a hate crime. 58-year-old Hendricks was gunned down in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape on Saturday. Let's welcome into the conversation social and human rights activist Zaki Ahmad. Good morning to you, Zaki, and thank you for your time. I read your reflections on the killing of Mohsin Hendricks, and it falls in line with much of what people are saying, that while there's still an investigation going on, many people have no doubt in their minds that this was a hate crime, and you are one of those people.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. What can I say? It's deeply painful, not only for, I'm sure, the family and friends and loved ones of Mohsin Hendricks, Imam Mohsin Hendricks, and to them we should all extend our condolences. Myself, anyone who thinks must extend our condolences. The first thing to say is it wasn't a simple hate crime. It was a deliberate execution of a person who was decent, who studied the Quran, who studied the Hadith, who studied the Sunnah, who went abroad to do so, came back, was married, decided and said these words, that in order to be authentic to himself, it would be better to die than not to be authentic to oneself. And he paid for his authenticity, his love for Muslim people generally, but particularly providing a safe space for lesbian and gay people who were queer. And that was important. I think what is important to know here is first and foremost that organizations such as the Muslim Judicial Council, Jamiatul Ulama and so on, that these people must take responsibility because of their fatwas. A fatwa is a writ, it's like a summons or a judgment that said anyone who is Muslim who is queer puts themselves outside of the faith. And when you put yourself outside of the faith, the sentence is one in a Muslim country like Saudi Arabia, or so-called Muslim country like Saudi Arabia, someone can be put to death for it. So my view is here that there clearly is, in Mohsin's case, there's a difference in scholarly interpretation of the religion. Now, I'm not a Muslim, I'm an atheist, I come from a Muslim background. But for me, the question is simple. If you have a faith, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, African traditional faiths, if you have a faith, your faith truly, I take the best out of it, and the best for me is love thy neighbor as thyself.
Yeah.
It doesn't say love your neighbor if he's the same as you.
Yeah. Zaki, I do have a responsibility to reflect what the official position has been of the United Ulama Council of South Africa, for example, who were saying that, I just quote from their statement in reaction to the killing of Muhsin, saying Islamic teachings and traditions unequivocally prohibit same-sex relationships, an aspect the deceased is known to have been advocating. However, UUCSA condemns all forms of extrajudicial killings as they undermine the rule of law and contribute to societal instability. So in response to you saying that they should, these organizations should take responsibility. But what does this moment represent? And you are an atheist, but you know your paths are very comparable to the path of, you've walked similar paths with Muhsin. What does this moment represent for the Islamic faith in South African society?
Well, I think the vast majority of Muslims, even though there's outpouring of hate on social media, the majority of Muslims are not sitting in front of Twitter and Facebook and spreading hate. The majority of Muslims are hardworking people, are unemployed people, and we all should have the discussion that is honest and open and deal with the question of when something like the Muslim Judicial Council says, if you're queer, you're not part of the religion, what that does to a child and what that does to a family. But I think what all of us should say to all religious leaders, we would rather see you on the streets dealing with us, dealing with state capture, dealing with hunger, dealing with inequality, dealing with Donald Trump, who has put 20 million people on death row. These are the questions that Muslim leaders should be leading on. They should be telling Saudi Arabia and all the Arab countries that produce fossil fuels, say to them, listen, the planet is burning. These are the things that we are at a crossroads, and the bigger challenge is not to the Muslim community, but to the queer community. And that challenge to those of us who are queer is this: where are you? Where are you when we march on the streets?
Yeah.
For hunger.
All right. Thank you for that. Zaki Ahmad is a social and human rights activist. And just to reflect on what Zaki is saying, these are vexing questions that go beyond the Islamic faith. I know that there's a long jurisprudence in law, for example, about how the Christian faith itself grapples with issues of LGBTQI community and queer people in general. So that is one of the aspects that's worth bringing forth. I also need to mention what the statement of the Muslim Judicial Council says. It says the sanctity of human life is a fundamental tenet of Islam, and the unlawful taking of life is a grave transgression, both in religious jurisprudence and within the legal framework of the Republic of South Africa. So it's worth putting both of those on the record. All right, a quick traffic update now, and we'll be back with more for you in just a moment.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's the busiest Monday by some distance around Gauteng. Wet weather, you've got crashes, multiple scenes, breakdowns, all sorts of stuff happening. If you're not in it, it's probably already too late. I've just put an overhead map view up on Twitter at Traffic SA. You can have a look at it there. Durban, a breakdown on the N2 south at Spaghetti Junction. Big traffic from Inanda Road. And Cape Town after a windy weekend. Sand all over Baden-Powell at Coastal Park. And also at Monwabisi. Monwabisi Sandy Corner has some stop-go controls being manned by Cape Town Traffic Services. So expect some delays there. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Ever since Uspilion won 5,000 rand, 5 hour on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals. Star white, Baba. And he owns 10 identical pairs. And before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance, Let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3 and see how one spin changed Billion's life and how it can change ours as well in just one day.
Hey neighbor, what happened to you last night? We were vibing watching the game and then our team scored and the next thing you were gone.
Skis, I missed the goal. You know, just before our team scored, Eskom came and then our electricity was disconnected.
Yo, so much drama. What happened?
We got a fine for buying electricity tokens from an illegal vendor.
And then your fancy orange jumpsuit?
Oh, just in case I get arrested for not paying the fine, Pela.
Ungathatha chance. Buy your electricity legally. Stop buying electricity from illegal vendors and tampering with electricity meters.
It's 2025, aka 2020 Thrive. And from January to December, we're managing our expenses better, even in the month of love. Whatever personal expenses or aspirations you have, make them happen now with a Nedbank personal loan of up to 400,000 Rand and enjoy our best available interest rate.
Search Nedbank personal loans and show your goals some love. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
7 minutes to 7. Let's turn our attention to this story. More than 400 schools in the Eastern Cape still use pit toilets. These numbers come from an investigation by the South African Human Rights Commission, which found that traditional pit toilets remain a reality in the province, while the new ventilated, improved pit toilets also fail to cater for all children. Let's speak now to Eileen Carter, who is the South African Human Rights Commission's Eastern Cape head. Good morning to you, Eileen, and thank you for your time this morning. So the number of 400 schools that still use pit toilets, how does it stack up against what the initial target was a few years ago, especially after the death of Michael Komape in Limpopo and Lumkam Ketwa in the Eastern Cape?
Morning to Thulasizwe and morning to the listeners. Well, there's been great strides that has been made in terms of eradication of traditional pit toilets. We have to make mention of that. But unfortunately, we haven't eradicated them yet. And we are very much aware of the commitment that was made by the department and the minister that by the end of this financial year, there would be no traditional pit toilets in the Eastern Cape and other provinces. But unfortunately, we know the reality on the ground is that idea is not going to be met.
What are some of the factors at play why we've not been able to completely eradicate? Is there a sense that even as new improved toilets are being built, new problems crop up in new areas such that you're chasing a moving target?
Absolutely. I think it's a two-pronged concern here, Thulasizwe. Number one is the eradication of the traditional pit toilets. We know, and this is a conversation we've had almost now for a decade, as you've indicated since Michael's death, that the traditional pit toilets is a violation of dignity, of equality, of the right to life of our young little learners. Now, in order to eradicate these, what the department has done is they've rolled out the SAFE program. But sometimes the rollout of the SAFE program in the form of what we call the ventilated improved pits have perhaps met a quantity target and not necessarily a quality target. So what we saw, for instance, Thulasizwe in the province was in the past few years, 2 out of the 3 deaths that occurred in a pit toilet took place in the ventilated improved pit toilet. So if we don't look at the safety measures of these improved latrines, then we merely pit toilets in disguise, and we are still endangering our youngest learners.
So in a way then, Eileen, and this is what concerned me, that even what is put forward as an interim solution, the improved, ventilated, improved pit toilets, VIPs is what they call them, even that is problematic. So perhaps, I don't know, in my understanding, is it that they are better structurally, but not necessarily better in terms of the dangers that lurk as far as its use is concerned?
So ventilated pit latrines is a recognized form of improved sanitation. It's recognized by the World Health Organization. It can be a proper improved sanitation facility for learners, but then it needs to be age appropriate and safe. So in 2016, the Water Research Commission, they issued a report about the safety features that these new improved facilities need to have so that we can protect the lives of foundation phase learners. So Thulasizwe, you would know that these little learners are very small in build. And what we've seen is if the ventilated pit latrine is not designed in a manner that is conducive to their safety, basically what happens is they slip through the pedestal and they suffocate in sewage.
Lastly, then, Eileen, what are your recommendations? What do you recommend to try and move us forward on this goal of eradicating pit latrines?
So number one is where we need to speak about immediately enforceable rights. When you speak about Section 28 and 29 of the Constitution, it is not subject to available resources. We're speaking about children's rights here. We have an opportunity now to protect and realize their rights to dignity and equality in education. Now, so we need to get the department's budget. We need to budget from a human rights-based perspective and make sure that we give appropriate funds to these departments. For instance, the department basically needs about 10 million a year to eradicate or to improve all of the infrastructure of schools. They are provided with approximately 1.8. And then secondly, what the Commission is saying is have regard to the safety features of the rollout of these VIPs immediately. And we're asking the Minister and the Department to issue a directive to all implementing agents so that they can certify that even these improved facilities will meet the safety requirements our children so desperately deserve.
How apt is it that we are having this conversation in the week of budget? Thank you for that. Eileen Carter is the South African Human Rights Commission Eastern Cape head. I love that line where she said, a budget from a human rights perspective. There's the challenge there for the government as we head up into budget week.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
All right, let me take a quick call from Salim in Durban. Good morning to you, Salim. You want to reflect on the killing of Musin?
Yeah, you see, from my perspective, it's very unfortunate he was killed. But no one is allowed to make any changes to the Quran and the Sunnah. It's absolutely clear. You cannot come up and make any deviation. And I think what this Imam, or so-called disgraced Imam, he was trying to pollute the religion of Islam. And Almighty is very clear in the Quran. Has he done, the punishment he put onto the people of, Lot and the people of Noah. Hud alayhi salam and Noah alayhi salam. Those nations were destroyed, and up to now you go to Solomon, Gomorrah. It's the lowest point of on earth where those people were punished for what they're doing. So he's not allowed to make any changes.
I hear what you're saying, Salim, but you're not seeking to justify his killing, are you?
No, I'm not justifying the killing, but I'm saying what he was doing, he was polluting and the religion of Islam. He was making sin. And what's happening is this was a sinful act.
Yes, because the arguments you are making, Salim, are better made with a person who remains alive so that you can continue to engage with them.
Of course, we will talk to him and try to put him right. He cannot continue a sinful life, and he cannot pollute the religion of Islam.
I hear you. All right, thank you for that. That's Salim out in Durban, and that brings us to 7 a.m. Let's check in now with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30760. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, new minimum wage to take effect next month and a police officer to appear in court in double murder case. Good morning. As the new minimum wage is set to come into effect from the 1st of next month, the change is expected to impact a wide range of industries. The new minimum wage has been set at 28.79 rand per hour from the previous rate of 27.58 rand. Managing Director at Strategy Labour Solutions, Advocate Tertius Wessels, says open communication is required because employees that earn above the national minimum wage are not automatically entitled to receive the 4.4% increase.
This increase of the 4.4% really only applies to those employees that are currently earning the minimum wage. And many employees that earn above this national minimum wage are not automatically entitled to receive a 4.4% increase. And unless there's open communication between employer and employees, there might be an expectation, and it could cause labour unrest, which again has the ability to adversely affect the employers.
A Limpopo police officer arrested in connection with the killing of a son and his teen girlfriend is expected to appear at the Morebeng Magistrates Court. Police say the suspect allegedly shot and killed a 25-year-old son and a 16-year-old girlfriend at a home. The cause of the incident is being investigated. The officer will face murder charges. Gautrain has announced a significant scale-up of its bus services between Rosebank and Park Station. Buses will run every 15 minutes between the two stations from 5:30 in the morning until 8:30 in the evening as a contingency measure. Train operations between the two stations have been suspended due to an illegal drilling activity on a private property located above the Gautrain tunnel. Gautrain CEO Tsepo Gobe says the additional bus services will assist, but commuters must be aware that the efficiency that they are used to will be impacted.
If you look at it, a 4-car train at full steam, it's carrying about 409 passengers. 409 passengers divided by 70, it's at least 7 buses up the road. Our bus service, it's rated on the basis of its departure times. So every train that arrives has to have 7 buses accompanying it. And at some point in time, you probably have 21 buses on the road at the same time. We have about 125 buses all in all. At any one point in time, we have about 100 deployed and probably 10 in maintenance and 13 in spare.
EFF leader Julius Malema has called on government to withdraw the South African National Defence Force from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Malema's call comes as 14 SNDF soldiers lost their lives in the DRC last month. Speaking at the St. Paul African Apostolic Church in Moletsane, Soweto yesterday, Malema says government should first equip the SANDF better.
Those soldiers ran out of bullets, and they sent a message to South Africa to supply more. But because South Africa has got no capacity, couldn't give those soldiers more ammunition. Those soldiers did not have drones. Why do you fight a war like you are fighting during the time of Shaka Zulu?
And finally, U.S. officials led by the Secretary of State Marco Rubio will travel to Saudi Arabia's capital Riyadh soon for direct talks with officials from the Russian Federation. The effort seeks to jumpstart Ukraine-Russia peace talks after a call between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the President Donald Trump last week. Rubio will be joined by the White House National Security Advisor Michael Waltz and the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Showan Bryce Peace reports that the trip comes at a time of rising tensions between the United States and Europe.
Rubio also spoke with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at the weekend as a follow-up to the earlier call between their presidents. A readout said Rubio reaffirmed Trump's commitment to finding an end to the conflict in Ukraine while discussing the opportunity to potentially work together on a number of other bilateral issues. As the US moves to direct talks with Russia, French President Emmanuel Macron called a European leaders' emergency meeting Monday in Paris to discuss how they might have greater influence in any Ukraine-Russia peace talks. All this as a rift grows between the EU-US alliance, amid seemingly tectonic shifts that are repositioning the relations between the major powers.
Recapping the top story, as the new minimum wage is set to come into effect from the 1st of next month, the change is expected to impact a wide range of industries. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
There are many love languages, but at Outsurance, their love language is savings. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. Why wait? Get a quote today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If you're driving from Pretoria down to Joburg, make sure you've got a ton of time to get through. It is a very extremely busy Monday. We're queuing from Stormville down to a crash after Rigel, then queuing even heavier between John Foster and Barakfontein interchange. Rain earlier this morning causing breakdowns and crashes, and it's absolute mayhem through there. The N3 coming up from Germiston and Alberton into Galulies is heavier crash before you get to Galulies interchange. Durban N2 South, that breakdown at Spaghetti Junction, still there. Big traffic parking all the way back to Ananda Road. And Cape Town, as we forecast, Baden-Powell at Momobisi is now closed. The authorities have said no, it's too much sand there this morning. They've closed Baden-Powell through Khayelitsha, so just factor in some delay and diversion through that sense. Also very sandy at Coastal Park as well, so you need to be cautious out that side. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headline, it's cricket. Captain Demba Bavuma says the Tri-Series is key to the Champions Trophy preparations that start this week. And in soccer action, Mamelodi Sundowns defeat Impeni home defenders, booking their spot in the Nedbank Cup Final 8. All this and more at around 7:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 9 minutes after 7 on this Monday. Good morning. We're into the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. It's good to be in your company. Lots to cover in this hour. For starters, we'll tell you about this court case that is now coming up in the Western Cape Division of the High Court that is seeking to challenge the provisions of the Political Party Funding Act. The argument being advanced there by the organization My Vote Counts is that all private donations to political parties, big and small, should be publicly disclosed. There's a feeling, at least from My Vote Counts' perspective, that the threshold of 100,000 Rand donation in cash or kind is just enabling a lack of transparency in as far as donations that are made. And MVC also wants that 15 million Rand cap of a donation by an individual to be reinstated. So in the next few minutes, I'm in conversation with Elisha Kunene, who is a program lead in participatory democracy at My Vote Counts. Then it is budget week. Minister Enoch Godongwana has one massive headache, I can tell you that. I haven't spoken to him, I haven't seen him, but I know he has one massive headache. The headache is so much to do, so little cash to go around. Our coffers, our public finances in a dire state. And I guess that's an understatement, really, if you look at the budget cuts that have been happening. Government quite decisive that they want to bring debt under control, but you sit with a 300 billion Rand shortfall in as far as the revenue collection is concerned. And government has tried many ways to try and prop up our public finances. So what will the minister do? I'll be in conversation with Isam Hlanga, who is chief economist and head of research at RMB, to reflect on what we can expect in budget week. And then a bit later on, I'll tell you this story. Police say that about 62% of extortion cases involve the use of an unregistered SIM card. How is it possible? How is it possible? Have you tried buying a SIM card? It's not that simple. You need your ID, you need your proof of residence, and you need to go and have it recard and everything in terms of that law. But it would seem that criminals are able to get away with it. So we'll tell you at about 10 to 8 about this phenomenon and how it links to more serious crimes. Of course, in all of these issues, I welcome your inputs and any other matters that you may want to put on the table this morning. The number to dial is 086 000 2032. I'll take your WhatsApp voice notes on the number 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The second hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Whether you're having a early, snoozy, tantrumy, chill, frustrating, or jokey morning. Mornings love McDonald's, so choose happy and enjoy a Burry Burger Double and a short filter coffee for only R39.90 from 6 to 10:30 a.m. at McDonald's.
In business, a rand saved is a rand earned. And almost 100,000 businesses trust OUTsurance.
We're in the private security industry, and by switching to OUTsurance, we save 785 Rand a month. It's an extra tank of fuel, it's extra reward money that we pay our officers. When it comes to insurance, OUTsurance is our security company.
For your business insurance, contact OUTsurance to see how much your business could save. SMS quote to 43328 for immediate cover, or visit outsurance.co.za today. A licensed insurer in FSP. T's and C's online.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana.
People still believe in love. People still admire love. We're going to go with this times, the love industry has become very complicated due to a lot of things. Our beliefs, the way we see things as people. So it has complicated the pureness.
Linda, to the love
yes,
industry has done.
Yes, it's an industry on its own now. It's an industry on its own.
Linda Gwensa.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday. The only talk radio morning breakfast show that makes sense. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
14 minutes. 14 minutes after 7. Well, those things do happen from time to time. South Africans are getting ready to hear the budget speech from the Minister of Finance this week. In sharp focus will be the state of the nation's public finances and the difficult task of balancing essential spending with challenging economic circumstances. Experts say amid a big budget shortfall and rising costs, the government faces an uphill battle in meeting its obligations while ensuring fiscal stability. Let's welcome into the conversation Isam Mhlanga, who is Chief Economist and Head of Research at RMB. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So I was saying earlier on that I imagine that Minister Enoch Godongwana has one massive headache. So much to do, and it would seem, I suggest, Isam Mhlanga, that the responsibilities and what government needs to cover by way of public expenditure is growing. That list is growing, but the collections revenue is not.
Indeed, these are issues that we have seen over the last couple of years, where social spending, what government calls the social wage, has been rising over time. And that's very difficult to repeal or to reduce in times when revenues are not strong. But on the other hand, we're seeing new spending commitments that are crystallizing in the budget. For instance, if you look in last year's budget, there was no provision for the social relief of distressed grant, colloquially known as the COVID grant. But there's also intention of increasing the number of people that actually benefit to somewhere around 13 million people from just over 9 million, which means there is going to be a significant increase to over 40 billion from just under 30 billion. That is new spending that once it crystallizes, it's difficult to reduce. But then we can also look at state-owned companies. Eskom requires more support. Transnet requires support in one form or the other, perhaps in form of a guarantee. But as we have seen with many state-owned companies, these guarantees eventually crystallize into the budget. These are new commitments, which means we have to find a way to balance, the revenue that is likely to perform slightly above expectations, but the spending commitments are far bigger than what we know from last year's budget.
So our colleagues at the Sunday Times doing a bit of work, Asa, just consolidating what we know of the public finances and particularly bringing into sharp focus the issue of taxes, saying that, and I agree with their argument, that if you look around, government has sort of, scrounged around to see what savings can be realized to be able to service our debt, which stands at close to 6 trillion rand, including accessing those, gold and foreign exchange contingency reserve account that happened last year. Is it inevitable then, given everything that government has tried, that we are likely going to face pain in as far as taxes are concerned, and if so, which taxes are likely to be affected?
Look, it's quite difficult to assume or even to expect corporate income taxes going up, given that a couple of years ago, Treasury gave us a signal in terms of which direction corporate income taxes are taking, which is low, not up. But also, if you look from a personal income tax perspective, we're a very small tax base, which means the number of people that are actually paying tax is very small. And given the pace of job growth that we have seen, which has been quite slow, we are not expecting further burden to be given to the few that are already, paying the significant portion of our taxes. And then you can think about VAT, which is value-added tax. Again, we've only seen an increase in value-added tax once since 1994. It tells you that there is no, appetite to raise new tax revenues through value-added tax. So this leaves all the other smaller taxes as an avenue. So you can expect some increase in sin taxes. Not sure if we're likely to see any property taxes of sort, but even if it's there, it's not going to be significant enough to close the revenue gap that exists. So from a tax revenue perspective, there are significant limitations. What we're likely to see, as we have seen before, is no adjustment for fiscal drag. And by that we mean when inflation pushes you up into a higher tax bracket in other years gone by, you will be readjusted back so that you are not disadvantaged simply because inflation is higher. In this case, we're likely to see you not being adjusted, which means you are going to be taxed at a higher tax bracket. That's what we are likely to see. But how much can it raise? 10 to 15 billion? It's not enough to actually close the revenue gap.
Sure, the sobering realities of our budget 2025. Issa, thank you for your time. Before you go, just as an aside, please settle the debate between me and my business reporter colleagues. I say your name is pronounced Issa Mhlanga. They say Isaiah Mhlanga.
that should be Isaiah Mhlanga.
It should be Isaiah. All right, so I was wrong. Thank you for that. That's Isaiah Mhlanga, the chief economist and head of research at RMB.
Reigning African champions Banyana are gearing up to defend their WAFCON title in Morocco. Dr. Ellis and the girls want to deny neighbors Lesotho a moment to shine. But Mehala Dito believe their game plan is too great to stop. This is the international friendly. Experience the Southern African Derby, South Africa versus Lesotho, on Saturday, 22 February at 12:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 2. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Day 15. Location undisclosed. Mood, brave. Music, Eye of the Tiger. Dear Diary, it's been 2 weeks of epic challenges against some of the most memorable and epic Survivor contestants. I have endured some harsh weather conditions, unbelievable drama, and these fire tokens have given me and the other contestants a second chance to stay in the game. Food. I feast on the defeat of my enemies. Vumi over there is busy planning and scheming, thinking that he can get me off the island. Never mind though. I will win this and take home $2 million. We're gonna be rich, Papa.
Rich Goopy Wanabonani, are you doing that thing again? Come and get your dinner, Mr. Fake Diary Sessions. We're now on Survivor. Oh, the world will fall.
Catch Survivor Season 40, Winners at War. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Starts 27 February on S3. Open up.
S3. Big stories of the day. #The Morning Brief.
21 minutes after 7. There has been some contestation on government's claim that the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative, PYEI, has created over millions of jobs since its inception in 2020. The Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Nongaba Mhlauli, recently revealed that the PYEI had created 1.57 million job opportunities over the 3 years. But parties like the African Transformation Movement, the ATM, have demanded transparency and accountability from the ANC-led government and the Government of National Unity, questioning the credibility of these numbers. So someone else who's weighed in on that debate is Duma Qubule, who is an advisor on economic development and transformation. Good morning to you, Duma, and thank you for your time. So the figure that is shared by Deputy Minister Mhlauli, 1.57 million job opportunities, and that's important to distinguish from jobs to job opportunities. How does that stack up with what we know against what the targets were, as well as the levels of unemployment among the youth, which ranges, if you talk youth unemployment, about 45%?
Okay, youth unemployment currently is about 70.7%, according to the expanded definition.
Yep.
So we have a huge crisis of unemployment. We've got the second highest unemployment rate in the world, 41.9%, 12.2 million people. And the budget on Wednesday must address the issue of unemployment, or else it's a waste of time. The primary objective of the budget is not to reduce the deficit, but to address GDP growth, unemployment, poverty, and inequality. So back to what the minister said. Now, we have three public employment programs. One is the Presidential Employment Stimulus. Number 2 is the Expanded Public Works Program. Number 3 is the Community Works Program. According to my calculation, last year they created about 1.8 million work opportunities. Now, what is a work opportunity? A work opportunity is not a full-time job. I don't know how I can explain it. So there's a spectrum in terms of the quality of these jobs. So let me give you an example. So there's one that I know, the Social Employment Fund. It creates 2 days a work of jobs, and it's managed by the IDC. And these are paid a very low stipend to the young people. That's number one. I think the National Youth Service is similar. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's something called the Basic Education Employment Initiative. It placed 250,000 teacher assistants in schools, and these were young people. So they were employed by, I think, for 8 months in a year. So this was close to a full-time job, what we call a full-time equivalent job. Now, if you add the people who were paid, so how it happened, it started during COVID. So year 1, 250,000. Year 2, 250,000. These are different people. It's not the same people. Year 3, 250,000. So if you add up all these work opportunities, they do add up to 1.5 million people. But that's not the real story. The real story is that what she did not mention is that the government cut the funding for the Basic Education Employment Initiative and all the public employment programs by 14 billion rands. And so instead of them creating 1.8 million work opportunities per year, because the number she quoted is cumulative work opportunities over 3.5 years or something like that, you know? But we're talking about per year. So now they've cut down on the work opportunities by half, by more than 50%, to my estimate about 900,000. Now, you can't have a government that says that they're committed to unemployment, cutting public employment. That is completely insane, and South Africans must call them out for it. There is no justification for cutting job creation programs. I don't care about the budget deficit. We must create jobs, whatever it takes to create jobs.
How would we fund it, though, Duma? The public employment programs.
Yeah,
yes.
I've talked about. Okay, so we should set a target of 5 million work opportunities in the medium term. And how to fund it, I've said so many times, quite simple. The employment tax incentive is a waste of money. It is a basic income grant for employers. They don't employ people, so we must can it. That's 7 billion rands a year. The unemployment insurance fund surplus, we paid 60 million rand from this unnecessary surplus during COVID to pay people who are unemployed. That was a good thing. But in that kitty, there's still 110 billion rand in the unemployment insurance fund surplus. And we must take a big portion of that surplus, maybe 50 billion rand, and we must merge these three public employment programs and create one institution and fund these public employment programs. Because if the government does everything that I say they must do, and the economy grows and it creates jobs, there will still be millions of people who are unemployed. So there will always be a role for public employment programs. And over time, the government can provide a job guarantee. So there is money. It's that surplus that is unnecessary, that was not necessary before COVID, and that wasteful employment tax incentive.
And if I understood you, correctly, Duma, the cuts to the public employment programs in the manner you've described, do they have the impact that actually we have the potential to create even more job opportunities? If I remember correctly, you cited a figure, close to 1 million a year?
No, 1.8 million. So with the cuts this past year that ends in March or whatever, then they'll create 900,000. So we have put 500,000 people, 900,000 people, they're not earning those incomes anymore. They're not working. What is the logic of that, South Africans? We have to call out our government for this nonsense. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't care about this deficit. Forget about the deficit. Solve unemployment. The deficit takes care of itself. Yeah.
While you mentioned the issue around the deficit, the other...
And the deficit is not even high by international standards.
75% of GDP, yeah?
No, every emerging markets, 75, it's around 75%. All emerging markets in the wake of COVID, stop this fear, stop believing the National Treasury's fear-mongering about this deficit. The deficit is, trust me, I know all the numbers, and I don't have time to give them to you, but I can tell you that the deficit is not high by international standards, and we should forget about this deficit and invest in our people, take whatever it does.
What about the focus on bringing down the debt service costs, Duma? Because that seems to be the other priority for government, yeah.
Yes, the debt service costs, yeah. So you must remember that everything that is measured as two things. Everything is measured as a percentage of GDP, whether it's the debt ratio or the debt service costs. So if your salary is increasing and your GDP is increasing, then it's affordable. So let's focus on the GDP growth. I was with the finance minister, when was it? In November at Luthuli House. He says he agrees with me, but he doesn't implement what he says he agrees with me. If we focus, we're focusing on the wrong thing, Thulasizwe. South Africans must understand. If we grow the economy, then this thing is affordable. And the debt service costs goes down. Now, the second thing I want to say is that if we had a proper central bank, the central bank can intervene in the bond market to reduce the cost of capital. It's a technical thing, which I can't really go into, but they can set the cost of capital and reduce it, yeah.
That issue, though, Duma, of growing GDP significantly, it's been negligible growth, really, for the past decade and a half so.
It's 1.2% for the past 16 years.
Yes. Easier said than done is what I'm saying. So we've been focusing on structural reforms and the likes, but we don't seem really to be gaining any particular traction and momentum.
Yes. Now, over the same 15-year period, the average emerging market, if 155 of them, they grew at 4.4% without much effort. And then the emerging and developing Asia, 30 countries, they grew by 6.3%. Now, why is it this chronic low GDP growth it's unique for a country that is not at war? So instead of focusing on the debt, which is just a symptom of the debt ratio is just a symptom of a low growth environment, let's focus on the growth. And then everything will take care of itself, because we've been doing this thing for 15 years with no results. The structural reforms, austerity, if a normal person does something for 15 years and it doesn't work, they change what they're doing, Thulasizwe. It makes no sense. We can't continue like this. We have to stop. Yeah.
All right, Duma, thank you for your inputs this morning. And I appreciate the fire in your belly there. That's Duma Qubule, who is an advisor on economic development and transformation. 7:30, let's check in now with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the South African Muslim Network has condemned the murder of South Africa's first openly gay imam, Mission Hendricks. Hendricks was gunned down at the weekend in Qebegan, the Eastern Cape, in what's believed to be a hate crime. As the new minimum wage is set to come into effect from the 1st of next month, the change is expected to impact a wide range of industries, and Gautrain says it will pursue the legal route to recover cost to damage at one of the Gautrain tunnels between Rosebank and Park Station in Johannesburg. Train operations between the two stations have been suspended due to an illegal drilling activity on a private property located above the Gautrain tunnel. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
That how train disruption extending travel times between Rosebank and Park Station. Of course, you're on buses through peak hour traffic rather than zooming through the trains on a tunnel. So just factor that into your considerations. We've been warning this morning. It's a very heavy Monday morning across all our Gauteng highways. Really, I'll give you a couple of examples. The N12, Davyton through to Galulis. The N1, Grasmere up to Rivonia. The 59 from sort of, deep in Alberton all the way through to Reading Interchange. And also the Mike 1 from Boyson's right through to Santon, that's already heavy. Also the N1 South crash at Rigel, so very busy coming through from Montana, and then from John Foster down to New Road. You get the idea, there's just traffic everywhere across Gauteng highways and on the byways, all those traffic light problems. Durban, a breakdown N2 South at Spaghetti Junction, still there, very heavy coming down from Inunda Road. Inunda Road, out of Newlands down through Parlock, and Umgeni Road towards the N2, both are pretty heavy. It may well be related to the disruption there. The M7 going into Pinetown, super backlogs as well from Hunt Stedman Highway. And Cape Town, Baden-Powell Drive closed at Monmouthbisi. That's due to heavy sand. And it's the first day of the new academic year at UCT. If you're coming in on the M3 or you're driving through the southern suburbs, Rosebank, Newlands, wondering what's going on, extra traffic. That university opens from today. Rob Burton, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
So, Zai, some reflection there from the captain, Themba Bavuma. The Tri-Nations series didn't really go our way, but not all was lost. He believes there's some value.
Yes, I know. And now we are chasing the ICC trophy, which I think we last won 27 years ago. So some people weren't even born then. But let's not harp on that.
2000.
But a Champions Trophy in Pakistan, why not? Let's expect something from our Proteas. And the hunt continues. Captain Themba Bavuma believing that this completed Tri-Nation series against New Zealand and Pakistan, which New Zealand won, was the perfect warm-up for the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy. The Proteas kick off their campaign against Afghanistan on Friday in Karachi. Bavuma highlighted the challenge of taking wickets in subcontinental conditions, emphasizing that scoreboard pressure will be crucial for success.
The Tri-Series was, I guess, important for us to get a proper sight of the conditions. I think we've seen through the Tri-Series how tough it's been at times to get 10 wickets. And obviously as bowlers we've spoken as to, what the different plans and if there's a need for us to change our approach. I think obviously also from a batting point of view, understanding the importance of runs on the board and I guess allowing there to be enough from a scoreboard pressure point of view.
More cricket, Gavin Kaplan struck an unbeaten 42 to steer the Gold Rush Boland to a 5-wicket bonus point victory over the momentum multiplied Titans in their Cricket South Africa one-day challenge encounter at Boland Park. The Titans were bundled out for 110 in 41.4 overs, Gavin Kaplan taking Boland to 111 for 5 in 36 overs. Elsewhere, we got soccer action. Mamelodi Sundowns booking their place in the Nedbank Cup quarterfinals with a 2-0 victory over Mpeni home defenders. Here's their boss, Miguel Cardoso.
These kind of games are games obviously where you want to get the performance, and I think first half was quite okay. Obviously the game changed in the second one, And what we did in terms of managing the game with less one player was absolutely normal. They arrived on our box with long balls, only from most of them from some situations where we even put players in the front trying to score the third one, and we coped with this easily.
Elsewhere, Cassius Mailula played a role as Wydad Athletic Club triumphed 5-1 over SC Shabab Mohammedia, securing their fifth straight win. Mailula opened the scoring in the 33rd minute, and then Temenkosi Lort came in on the 77th minute as Wydad improved to 39 points from 21 matches, 11 points behind the league leaders RS Bikane, who have a game in hand. Elsewhere, Liverpool extended their lead at the top of the Premier League to 7 points. 2-1 was their win over Wolves. And in the meantime, Tottenham Hotspur beating Manchester United 1-0 to end their long winless run at home. Here's their boss, Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, look, I think the important thing is we did win today. That was kind of, it was an important game for us, an important week for us. We needed to sort of put on a performance today that gets us the result, and I thought we did that, and that coupled with the fact that we got some significant players back and they got through the game and got through unscathed and actually, really contributed. Important for us because, as I said, it sort of signals a little bit of an opportunity now for us to push on from here.
And finally, golf. Wilco Ninaba won the second NTT Data Pro-Am title by 7 strokes at Fan Court yesterday. Jean-Paul Stradom finished second on 20 under par with a closing 66. With his victory, Ninaba joins an exclusive list of only 4 players to have won this title twice in its 30-year history, including Nick Price, Darren Fickard and Oliver Becker. That's a wrap of your morning brief sport, from birdies to breaking news. More top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again, Ntauling. So for our second update of the morning, you want to start with company news. Tell me about Med-Air and their warning about a plunge in annual earnings.
So automotive components manufacturer Med-Air issuing a profit warning, expecting full-year earnings to plunge by up to 20%. Now, the company cited ongoing challenges in the auto sector, including lower production volume and market share shifts. Zooming in on that update, Med-Air's revenue from continuing operations is expected to be 11.8 billion rands, down from 12.1 billion in the previous year. Now, during the period, Med-Air made quite a few strategic moves, like ditching its Turkish business. The sale of Mutlu resulted in a loss of 4 billion rands, largely due to high debt and trade creditor levels. The group also picked up AutoZone for about 278 million rands, marking a shift towards diversifying revenue streams. Now, the company says it'll be focusing on operational efficiencies, revenue diversification and margin improvement to address challenges in the automotive component manufacturing business. Med-Air aims to expand in sub-Saharan Africa's mobility sectors through a reset and growth strategy.
And then in the construction sector, tell me about these project delays that you are saying are weighing on Avenge.
So Avenge warning of setbacks in 2 major projects. It says troubles at the Kidston project in Australia and the Jurong Region Line project in Singapore have resulted in a loss of about 900 million rands. The Kidston project, a world-first conversion of a disused gold mine into a pumped storage hydroelectric power generation facility, has been plagued by productivity issues and increased costs. And the Jurong Region Line project in Singapore has faced delays and disruptions, leading to commercial claims and increased forecast costs. Despite the setbacks, Avenge's building segment, Built Environs, and its mining segment, Moolmans, are expected to report improved earnings. That, however, was not enough to impress investors, as the share price shed over 25% in Friday's trading session.
Lastly, Ntauling, give us our second roundup of market activity for this morning.
So starting off in Asia, markets mixed on that front. Traders there digesting a GDP printout from Japan and Tencent's AI plans. With that, the Shanghai index is up 0.08%, while the Hong Kong Hang Seng trends lower, losing about 0.33%. In Wall Street, futures are in positive territory. Overall trading today will be thin as U.S. markets are closed on account of President's Day. And then back at home, sentiment upbeat with the all share gaining 1% in Friday's close. The rand also making gains, benefiting from a softer dollar following disappointing U.S. retail sales numbers that came out on Friday. The rand currently sitting at 18.33 to the greenback this hour.
All right, that's Ntauleng Lechela there. Thank you for that. We'll talk to you again in the third hour of the show. Ntauleng will come through with yet another update for you on news to do with the markets, the economy and business here on The Morning Brief.
Africa Update on SAFM.
All right, let's say good morning to Raz Sipho-Mantula. Good morning to you, Raz. So, focus was on Addis Ababa over the last few days, and there were a whole host of elections that were taking place for various continental governance bodies. But the most important, I suppose, was the position of AU Commission Chair.
That is quite true to that Jumbo African Refreshing Morning to the listeners. To that, indeed, what we saw, surprise coming from Djibouti, Mohamed Ali Yusuf becoming the new chair, taking from Musa Faki. And also, you will recall, also we saw the Angolan president, Joao Lorenzo, being elected as the new chairperson of the AU for 2025. Interestingly, Odinga, people in Kenya are saying he should focus on Kenyan presidency now in 2027 because he has failed dismally in the AU contestation to become the new CEO of the African Union. Now, Thulas, when you look at the former Foreign Affairs Minister of Djibouti, he has got challenges now. He's coming at a critical time where the AU is dealing with the ongoing conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, also as the issues around the U.S. withdrawal of financial aid to several African nations. So this is a challenge for Yusuf, who's a former Foreign Affairs Minister and also has been an ambassador in Egypt for more than 15 years. So this is a new man at the AU coming from Djibouti AU to AU Thulas. We'll see what will come out of the chairpersonship of also Joao Lorenzo in the conflict in the Eastern DRC.
So with all the conflicts playing themselves out, you mentioned the DRC and other parts of the world, we've been hearing from the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He wants us to not lose sight of the one conflict, the underreported conflict in Sudan.
Absolutely, Thulas. He was in a humanitarian session. Actually, there was a high-level humanitarian conference in Addis Ababa to look at the plight of North Sudan. He says that it is a catastrophe of staggering scale and brutality. Very loaded words, Thulas, when you look at the diplomatic tensions. He's urging the international community to urgently scale up funding and at the same time, Thulas, to deal with the current crisis. Despite that, both forces want to establish a government of transition, whether with the civilians or with the government, with the foreign proxy government. That's how Sudan, it is still caught up in the issues of governance cycle. But at the same time, you have a humanitarian crisis going on in Sudan.
The other burning platform on the continent, of course, is the DRC. Visuals coming through over the last few days of M23 AFC, I believe they're called, that coalition of rebels entering Bukavu city center.
Remember, Thulas, when you talk of Bukavu, North Kivu is close to South Kivu. So Bukavu was coming, as Colonel Nanga have said, that from North Kivu, they'll be marching to Bukavu, and Bukavu, they are moving to Kinshasa. Over this weekend, Thulas, we saw even the soldiers moving out and the M23 occupying some of the airports and some of the city centers of the South Kivu. This is worrying, Thulas, considering that Tshisekedi was absent also at the AU meeting. Rather, he went in Germany for a Munich meeting, still trying to push for the Rwanda to be isolated in the international community, but at the same time having challenges in the Eastern DRC to manage the M23. So the M23, Thulas, will still be on the radar this week as we are dealing with the South Kivu occupation.
Yeah. Tell me about the arrest of the former Mauritian Prime Minister. What's that about?
Thulas, on Sunday, the Financial Crimes Commission, they said that they went to his house to search some of the monies that they said there was money laundering investigation against the former Prime Minister, Pravind Jugnauth, who just lost the elections early last year. the amount that was seized from his house, Thulas, they say $2.4 million from business linked to him. Now, the Prime Minister, you'll understand, has been in the office since 2017 until 2024. But this is early days, Thulas, because it appears that even the former central bank governor was arrested last month on the same charges of money laundering. Now they are gunning after the former Prime Minister. And this came out also from the new Prime Minister, who said that they will be dealing with the public finances audit of Mauritania.
In your historical archives, Sipho, please take us to the 17th of February 2006. What happened on this day?
Thulas, I saw on the Twitter streets issues of former president, secrecy, or this one knows this. But 19 years ago, we saw former President Thabo Mbeki establishing the Donnan Commission that was looking at the United Nations Iraq Oil for Food program that was investigating certain South African companies or individuals. You remember the former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe, Thojiwa Sokwale, others were mentioned in that report, Thulas, when it was released in 2009. Only 2011, when former President Zuma released that report, none of those names that were featured were seen to have breached any South African law. Remember, the Oil for Food program, Thulas, was around the issue of the trade for oil in exchange for humanitarian aid, but not for military purposes. So these are interesting days and times, Thulas, what we see on the Twitter street.
And in fact, before you go, Sipho, I seem to recall that former President Kgalema Motlanthe at the time actually called for this investigation to say, if you are alleging anything against me, go ahead, investigate. You will find absolutely no wrongdoing.
Absolutely. As I said, 2011, the long-awaited report was released by the former President Jacob Zuma. These are interesting times, Thulas, of declassification and classification of state secrets. Asante sana, Thulas, it was leading the conversation. SAFM, observing the Black History Month.
Sipho Mantula there with your Africa update here on the Morning Brief.
In business, a rand saved is a rand earned. And almost 100,000 businesses trust Outsurance.
Switching to Outsurance has definitely saved me money. 2,107 rands per month. I would recommend Outsurance to all business owners because they will definitely save money. With Outsurance, you always get something out.
For your business insurance, contact Outsurance to see how much your business could save. SMS quote to 43328 for immediate cover or visit outsurance.co.za today. A licensed insurer in FSP. T's and C's online.
S3 and Lorna Maseko are adding flavor to your Wednesday evenings. Lorna invites you on a journey of discovering new ways of transforming South African pantry staples into delectable and budget-friendly meals. From reimagining traditional South African dishes to infusing global inspirations, Lorna's inventive recipes and seasoned cooking tips inspire creativity and will empower viewers to navigate the kitchen with savvy resourcefulness. Tune into Lorna's Pantry, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
With Ford's Blue Sky offers, get a new Ranger XL from just $5,899 per month, including our optional service plan, only when financed through Ford Credit. 10% deposit, primeless 4.75%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers, where our Ford Family Guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. Ford Credit is a registered credit provider and an authorized financial services provider. T&Cs apply.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Started with a wet Monday across Gauteng. There's orange level 5 warning for disruptive rain issued for the province from today till Thursday. So just make sure driving road safety is top of mind, please, through these conditions at a peak time. Give yourself extra time to get through. There's traffic all over the show. The R59 stays heavy, arriving into the Val. Big queues up to Michelle Avenue. Crash on Clip River Drive at the N12. If you're coming up that route, that's quite a big backlog as well. Crash on the N3 South at Linksfield. Very heavy coming from Limbo Park, Alex side, down into Edenvale. The N12 from Davyton through to Boxburg remains heavy. Traffic all over the N1 Mike 1 this morning from basically Montana down to a crash at Rigel Avenue. That's a big queue. And then you got queues from Bruckfontein all the way down to about Grayston Drive through Midrand into Sandton. Just a lot of traffic around Gauteng province going very, very slowly this morning. Durban, the breakdown into south at Spaghetti Junction is still there. Delays coming through from Ian Under Road. M7 into Pinetown, St John's Avenue from Huntsden. Stettman is very heavy. And Cape Town, Somerset West Strand, if you're struggling out that way, there's no traffic lights at that Lord Charles Bridge. That's the R44 Broadway Boulevard at Main. That's heavy. Baden-Powell at Monwabisi is closed to traffic, and there's a backlog. I'm not sure whether this is related, but there's a big backlog on the N2 outbound to get off at the Baden-Powell off-ramp. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Whether you're having a early, snoozy, tantrumy, chill, frustrating, or jokey morning. Mornings love McDonald's, so choose happy and enjoy a Burry Burger Double and a short filter coffee for only R39.90 from 6 to 10:30 a.m. at McDonald's.
The thirst to play the beautiful game is too high in the Banyana camp as they get ready to face Lesotho this weekend. Desiree Ellis Girls will be playing their first match of 2020 against Southern African neighbors in an international friendly at Tsakane Stadium. There will be no love shared amongst neighbors on the field of play. Show your love for Banyana. Tune in live to SABC 1 and your favorite SABC radio station this Sunday at 3 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
There are many love languages, but at OUTsurance, their love language is savings. Get a quote, and if OUTsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. Why wait? Get a quote today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With OUTsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
A few of your phone calls now. Let's start with Faisal in the Eastern Cape. Good morning to you, Faisal. You want to respond to the killing of Imam Muhsin Hendricks?
Yes, morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm okay, Thulas. Thulas, listen, first of all is this. This man cannot be called an imam.
Mm-hmm.
An imam is a person who leads the Muslim. He's a leader of the Muslim community.
Mm-hmm.
So this man, to call him an imam, he cannot be called an imam. He's not there. He's it himself. No one has judged on him. He did it himself. That is a path which he chose, which nobody can force him. South Africa is a free country. But for the people to say he's an imam, and Zaki Ahmed said this man studied. What did he study? He's all what he is. All these are, I've got nothing to do with his killing. Don't even ask me about do I agree or not. That is not my business. But this person, he can never be a Muslim. It's himself. He choose that way. Islam does not, I think, not allowed in Islam, and will never compromise on that.
Are you saying the people that he was leading are not Muslims? Because if you're saying an imam is a leader in the Muslim community and he was leading people, and factually we cannot say he did not study the Quran and other teachings of Islam. We cannot dispute whether that happened factually or not. Are you questioning whether the community was leading are themselves Muslims?
They're not a Muslim. Whoever approved that how can be a Muslim? This is against the Quran.
Okay.
It's against the teaching of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
All those people who she led, they cannot be called a Muslim. Islam to us is a single religion. Now I see Zaki Ahmed is boasting this man studied this and studied this. It's not about the study. It is about the beliefs. There's Islam to us. You see, I knew that other people, they do anything. Tomorrow they wake up, they sleep with a man. Tomorrow they wake up as a lady. It's happened. Islam does not allow it. Islam is a saying to us.
Sure.
In Islam, there is hudud and hukuk. There are limits and boundaries. You can't be a freelancer at what you want to be. Islam does not allow it.
All right.
So
Faisal?
to say this man was the imam, he's not the imam. What did he learn?
Gotcha. Faisal, thank you for that. That's Faisal in the Eastern Cape. Kirk, good morning. You want to talk to me about the state of our economy this morning?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Thulasizwe, you had a caller early on, Duma.
Duma Kobule, yes.
What a refreshing take on a solutions to solving our economic issues in South Africa. In addition to that, I'd like to suggest, partially out of ignorance, but the money that is the trillions of rands that are in the PIC, why could that not be used to alleviate our debt issues amongst state-owned entities? Eskom borrows from the open market at inflated rates because of their credit rating and of South Africa's credit rating. But we have these trillions of rands available that we use to create more money for our pension fund, for our long-term sustainability. But in the medium to short term, we've got these economic challenges that we cannot overcome without a dire intervention, an urgent intervention, and maybe this is the way to do it.
Kirk, thank you for that. I do imagine that there would be all sorts of considerations around how the PIC is managed and what the implications thereof are in terms of what Kirk is suggesting there. But worth thinking about. I don't really know the nitty-gritty of it all, but yeah, I think it's an idea worth exploring at the very least to find out what is permissible, what is not permissible. Sfiso in KwaZulu-Natal, good morning. You also want to talk about the GDP?
Most definitely. If I may just add on what Mr. Tomakobule was saying. Yes. I think the challenge with South African economy is that we are a consuming economy. Everything that almost we use, we import it from other countries. Whereas in my little understanding of economics, countries work with comparative advantage. What are we strong at as South Africa, and how can we export that as a country? I remember in my younger days when I was a youth league member during the 2012 conference before Malema could be fired, we took a resolution that all minerals of South Africa should be processed within South Africa rather than exporting them raw to India and Israel, supporting other economies. We built Danel comparative advantage that they can build good arms. But that was destroyed during the era of Pravin Gordhan. So as long as South Africa doesn't know what is its comparative advantage, we'll always be talking about the GDP that is not growing, calculating the percentages instead of focusing in terms of what is our competitive advantage as a country and work with that.
So our industrial policy must be centralized in all of these conversations, if I understand you correctly, that's Fiso. Thank you for that. You did hear, of course, earlier on in the State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa talking about that idea of focusing more on our industrial policy and sort of giving it a refresh and making it fit for purpose. Let me take a call from Jacques in KwaZulu-Natal. Good morning to you, Jacques. You also want to reflect on the killing of Imam Muhsin Hendricks.
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
I'd like to just say that with the Muslim faith, the faith overcomes anything else. So there is no way that they can be assimilated or that they are confined to being assimilated into a culture. So whether a Muslim person would go to America, whether a Muslim person would come into South Africa, or whether a Muslim person goes to any country, the teaching of Islam is that they would remain Muslim and not faithful to the country that they're in. So by that I mean is that the laws of the country are always the religion is superseded or supersedes everything, including the laws. So that is the problem at the moment that we are having culturally at the moment with local people and, say, the Pakistanis and foreigners that are coming. The assimilation has to take place. If you want to come into South Africa, you have to assimilate to, obviously, our laws as well as our customs and our creed. So I think when we're looking at things like this, it goes further than that, because he was a South African, and if he felt that he was protected by the laws of the country, to be a gay or lesbian or whatever he wanted to call himself, then we should also understand that if he has the right by law to do that, whether our teachings are Islamic or whether it's Christian or whether it's Hinduism, we cannot supersede and say our religion supersedes the laws of the country. Because then, like I said, at the end of the day, how can we assimilate and call ourselves South Africans, or do we call ourselves our religious
background.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Thank you for outlining it so well, Jacques. Thank you for that. That's Jacques in KwaZulu-Natal, talking about how you practice the core tenets of a religion like Islam within the context of a constitutionally supreme, a supreme constitution in South Africa, and all of those complexities that then come into play. Of course, those reflections prompted by the killing in Gqeberha over the weekend of Imam Muhsin Hendricks, who was the first openly gay imam in South Africa, and in fact it's been reported anywhere else in the world. 8 a.m. Let's check in with N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30760. Now that's good news.
In our top stories, murder of South Africa's first openly gay imam condemned, and new minimum wage to take effect next month. Good morning. The South African Muslim network, Sumnet, has condemned the murder of South Africa's first openly gay imam, Muhsin Hendricks. Hendricks was gunned down at the weekend in Gqeberha, the Eastern Cape, in what's believed to be a hate crime. The imam ran an LGBTQ plus friendly mosque in Cape Town. It's believed he was in Gqeberha to preside over a same-sex marriage. Sumnet chairperson Dr. Faisal Suleiman says, while Islam does not endorse same-sex relations, it does not give anyone permission to kill those who are homosexual.
At the outset, we must be unequivocal and quite clear. This is murder. This is unacceptable. The perpetrators need to be found and need to face the full might of the law. Whatever the motive, whatever the reason, this is murder. There's no getting around it. It's unacceptable. It is against the religious beliefs of all major faith groups that you can just take the law into your own hands.
A 30-year-old man has been arrested in Flagstaff in the Eastern Cape for the murder of a 31-year-old woman. The woman was murdered at Malizole locality in Lusikisiki on Friday. Police spokesperson Welile Matyolo says they received a tip-off about one of the alleged suspects involved in the murder.
A tip-off led police to the arrest of a 31-year-old male suspect of Ludiwani locality in Flagstaff, allegedly involved in the brutal murder of a 30-year-old woman of Malizole locality, where 3 unlicensed firearms were recovered. Recovered firearms are a 9mm pistol and a revolver, both with removed serial numbers, and another 9mm pistol, which has a Bishop Levy's case number in Cape Town. Also found in possession of the suspect is police uniform, and he will appear before Lusikisiki Magistrate Court on Monday.
As the new minimum wage is set to come into effect from the 1st of next month, the change is expected to impact a wide range of industries. The new minimum wage has been set at 28.79 per hour from the previous rate of 27.58. The managing director at Strategy Labour Solutions, Advocate Tertius Wessel, says open communication is required because employees that earn above the national minimum wage are not automatically entitled to receive the 4.4% increase.
This increase of the 4.4% really only applies to those employees that are currently earning the minimum wage, and many employees that earn above this national minimum wage are not automatically entitled to receive a 4.4% increase. And unless there's open communication between employer and employees, there might be an expectation, and it could cause labour unrest, which again has the ability to adversely affect the employers.
Gautrain says it will pursue the legal route to recover costs to damages at one of the Gautrain tunnels between Rosebank and Park Station in Johannesburg. Train operations between the two stations have been suspended due to an illegal drilling activity on a private property located above the Gautrain tunnel. Gautrain CEO Tsepo Khobe says the property owner will be held liable for the repair costs of the tunnel. Khobe says the Gautrain Infrastructure Act is clear on what actions to take in such cases.
The Gauteng Transport Infrastructure Act is very clear. Section 53, which talks about what happens when somebody does this, it's very clear about it. It's either you get a jail term or a fine or both. And Section 52 also speaks about the area where it says if you damage any of this, you could be liable for not only you going to jail and getting a fine, but also the damages and the repairs will be for your cost. So there is legal prescripts that we have to follow and actually follow through. And it is not even an option that we're not going to do it.
And finally, EFF leader Julius Malema has reiterated his stance that he will not be bullied by the US President Donald Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk. This after Musk called for immediate sanctions against Malema and he be declared an international criminal over old videos shared on social media of the EFF leader. Malema was speaking at the St. Paul African Apostolic Church in Molotsane in Soweto yesterday, says the only thing he has called for is the dignity of black people through land.
You can be guaranteed, fellow South Africans, I will never be bullied by Elon Musk or Donald Trump, because I've never done any crime to anyone.
Recapping the top story, the South African Muslim Network has condemned the murder of South Africa's first openly gay imam, Muhsin Hendricks. Hendricks was gunned down at the weekend in Gqeberha, the Eastern Cape, in what's believed to be a hate crime. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Those were the top stories for this hour. Don't miss out on a possible car insurance saving. SMS out to 30754 for a quote. Outsurance, where you always get something out.
This month, don't just treat yourself to some chocolates. You could also treat yourself to some great car insurance savings. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. And make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get monthly savings on your car insurance or cash in your pocket. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. With Outsurance, you always get something out. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. A reminder, it's heavy across Gauteng. It has been since early this morning due to wet weather conditions and back to work Monday volumes. Big traffic on Pretoria's N1 today. Crash at Rigel Avenue has been there a while. Traffic is stuck all the way back to Montana. Crash on Joburg's N3 south at Linksfield. So heavy coming past Alex into Edenvale. Big traffic on the N12 in from Benoni. Big traffic on the R59 coming up towards the Reading interchange. And there's now been a crash on the M1 near Empire Road. So extra delays from Gold Reef City or Monde territory. Durban, a collision a little bit earlier this morning on the N2 at Galleria, just slowing traffic arriving from Toti. The breakdown on Spaghetti Junction's N2 South is still there as well. Cape Town, Baden-Powell, we've been telling you about, is closed at Khayelitsha due to sand. There's a crash on the N7 South at the N1, and some protesting erupting this morning on the first academic day of the new year for the University of Cape Town. The protesting blocking off Woolsack Drive, and that is causing enormous pressure back through Rosebank, Rondebosch, Newlands, and the M3 coming inbound. Very heavy in that part of Cape Town this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
A very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. It's soccer with the Baroka FC interim coach, Forster Shlongwane, saying the Motsepe Foundation Championship is not for the faint-hearted. And we also have action in rugby. The Sharks, well, they pulled off a stunning victory over the Bulls in their United Rugby Championship derby at Loftus. We'll unpack these and more stories around 8:30.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 8 on this Monday. It's good to be in your company. We are into the third hour of the morning brief here on SAFM. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane. Let me do it slightly differently. Instead of recapping what we've been talking about, let me just pick up from that news item that Anne was playing, including that sound clip of Julius Malema speaking at that church service yesterday, saying that he will not be bullied by either Donald Trump or Elon Musk. And that second person that Malema mentions in that sound clip Elon Musk. We're going to have a bit of a reflection. I'll be joined in the next few minutes by Errol Musk, who is the father of Elon Musk. We're seeking to get as close as possible to an understanding of the worldview and the political view that informs some of the roles that Elon Musk has been playing, not only in the United States, but also as they relate to the U.S. policy to South Africa, in relation to South Africa. So Errol Musk on standby to have that conversation with me. And of course, we will reflect on all the other conversations that we have started. In the last hour, we spoke to Duma Qubule. I saw that many of you are reacting to what Duma Qubule had to say about how to change things up a little bit in as far as our approach to our public finances, as well as prioritizing public employment programs instead of cutting down their budgets. He spoke with quite a bit of passion, did Duma Qubule, and many of you are reflecting on that. And I'll take your calls on that and other issues. The number to dial is 086 000 2032, as well as your WhatsApp voice notes. Keep them coming. The number there is 061 410 4107. This is SAFM. We are leading the conversations that move us. The third hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief starts now.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The giants of French rugby, Bordeaux Baclair and Clermont Auvergne, are fighting for a massive victory to cement top 5 positions. This is the top 14. Rugby the French way. Catch the huge contest between Bordeaux Union Baclair and Clermont Auvergne on Sunday, 23 February at 10 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Jazz lovers, the wait is over. Africa's grandest gathering returns on the 25th to the 26th of April at the Cape Town International Convention Center. Experience 2 nights of soul-stirring jazz, electrifying collaborations, and over 30 world-class artists across 4 iconic stages. Don't miss this unforgettable musical experience. Get your tickets now at ticketmaster.co.za. Brought to you by Independent Media, proud media partner of the Cape Town International Jazz Festival.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
12 minutes after 8. Let's bring you that conversation then. As you know, Elon Musk's name is known around the world as the world's richest man, but he has also recently begun to make news for his political influence. His father continues to live in South Africa, having raised one of the world's most influential tech entrepreneurs. As a result of Musk's successes, his father has had to answer questions about his son's influence and how he chooses to exercise it. Let's bring into the conversation then Errol Musk, who is Elon Musk's father. And good morning to you, Mr. Musk, and thank you for your time. We're not seeking to have you account for Elon's actions, but we are seeking to understand his worldview and what informs it, particularly at this point in contemporary South African history and our trajectory. So let me start by asking you, how frequently do you speak to him, especially in the last few weeks? How frequently have you spoken to him, and in particular about developments in relation to the United States and South Africa?
Well, yes, I speak to him. I spoke to him Friday, but it wasn't about politics. It was about the family, about his sister's wedding. But we do speak a little about politics, but not much, because we agree with each other. I agree with what he's doing. And so I haven't got a problem with what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I did say to him after the election, it was well done, last year.
When you say you agree with what he is doing, what do you mean? What do you agree with exactly?
Well, he's been appointed to cut out all the waste in the government there, and the corruption and the stealing of money, So they found enormous amounts of theft taking place, of all places, the United States. You know, the last place we expected it. And so he's getting rid of all that. Initially, he didn't think that was the problem. He thought they were just inefficient. But when he got into the job, he saw that they're actually stealing money, you know, and giving it to each other.
Sure. So that's the part that you agree with. Let me ask you a question that I think many South Africans are wondering. Does he continue to consider himself a South African in any way, in any iteration?
Yes, of course. I mean, he's born here.
Uh-huh.
So he's you know, he would come more often here, but he doesn't have the time. But when they come here, we like to go to the country, you know, to the bushveld and all that sort of stuff, more than anything. So, yes, you know, he grew up here, so he's South African.
Does he hate South Africa?
No, of course not. You know, I mean, he, from a very early age, you know, all of us, you know, I stood for the PFP twice against apartheid because we didn't like it, you know, we didn't want it. And they would help me with the elections when they were boys. They were, you know, when they went to America, started their businesses, they made sure there was a big sign in the front that everybody's welcome to join the business, everybody, any kind of person, everybody.
You understand why I ask the question about whether he hates South Africa, because in the reading of many South Africans, and I don't claim to say all South Africans, but many South Africans believe that his actions of late have only served to harm the interests of South Africa.
No, I don't think so. You know, if it comes to the question of, you know, the Americans giving money, vast amounts of money, $500 million for HIV treatment and so on. Look, the thing is, Americans, I go to America a lot. Most of the Americans I know, many Americans I know have two jobs. They have to work at night and in the day. And their tax money is being taken and given to other countries that have done things that they shouldn't have done. In other words, it's not the Americans' fault that people here have HIV. It's not their fault. It's not ordinary workers' faults in America that their money must be taken away from them to help people here.
Mr. Musk, the conversation is not about fault, though, right? It's not about whose fault it is that there's HIV in the world. No one has suggested that it is the fault of Americans that we have HIV in the world. It's about international solidarity, about a problem that common humanity faces and responds to in common over the last decades.
Yes, but the thing is, the money is taken from people in America who have to work two jobs to try and get by, to try and survive. If they can, it's very hard. It's very expensive in America now. So their money is taken and given here for free. Then the other thing Elon told me is that they find that only about 10% of the money that they send here reaches the purpose for which it is sent. And the rest is taken by somebody.
Sorry, please run that by me again. You're saying you're saying that he told you that they found that only 10% of the money sent as aid to South Africa ends up with the intended beneficiaries.
Yes, that's what he says. You know, we were just talking quickly, and he said to me that as far as I can see, only about 10% of the money reaches the place that it's intended for. It goes to other people's. They take it. Other people use the money and claim it for
How can he possibly know that? How can Elon Musk possibly know that without a proper investigation into how the money is spent?
Well, they would look at the facilities that are here and say, well, we send $500 million, and why do you have such poor facilities? You know, but then the people would say to him, well, we don't get any money to do anything better, you know, and they say, but we're sending $500 million, which is, you know, a huge amount of money. It's like $500 billion rands or something.
I will take it,
and it's not reaching the purposes for what it's sent. So they are very concerned about that.
Well, I have a feeling, Mr. Musk, that if we were to open the lines, you would hear from many, many South Africans who know where that aid either through US aid, whatever contribution they make, or PEPFAR. I have a feeling that you would hear from many South Africans who would fully account for how that money is spent. But that's not the point. Let me just ask you this: does Elon Musk believe that the rhetoric that's based on false information that says South Afrikaners are being targeted for expropriation and confiscation of their land, and even goes, well, I've not heard him say this, but other iterations go as far as to say that there's a genocide against white Afrikaners in this country. Does he believe that?
Well, yes. I was talking to Mac G the other day about it, and Mac G was very good about explaining to me that black people, let's say, themselves suffer a lot of crime, in the places, townships and so on. But it has been shown that, not Afrikaners, I'm saying white farmers, are 3 times more likely to be killed by gangs and things than policemen are, than active policemen. That's not good. And we already have many farm murders. The last time I looked at it, it's quite heavy. It's like 70,000 people been murdered. So it's terrible. They live in fear on the farms.
70,000 over what period? Because certainly not over a year.
Over a very long period.
Over a very long period.
It's
in a country with one of the highest murder rates, which sadly you and I can agree that unacceptably high murder rate in this country.
Well, yes. I mean, we do. I mean, Cape Town is listed on some forums, for example, Cape Town, as the 4th most dangerous city in the world. So, of all places, it's hard to believe. But then when you look at the stats, for example, for the last weekend, maybe this weekend has just gone past, and then you can't believe it, and you read that 10 or 11 or 12 people were shot dead this weekend. For example, I don't know really. I haven't looked for this weekend, but in previous weekends, we looked, and on one weekend over the Christmas time, 93 people were murdered in one weekend.
Gotcha. You and I can agree on just how unacceptable the murder rates in this country are. I guess the point I was teasing out of you is whether or not it can be made as an argument that there's a systematic targeting of Afrikaners warranting the kind of executive order that your son seems to have cheered on, if not encouraged, on the part of Donald Trump. I think that was the point.
No. Elon's not involved in that. That's other people. There's other people, not just Elon's job is to cut waste in the government there. He's not been given a job to talk about the problems in South Africa. They would have other people there, and probably also other people from South Africa that tell them what's going on.
Right.
So the Americans are trying to do the right thing. They're simply trying to ensure that the right thing is being done. Now, recently, the Expropriation Act of land without compensation, or buildings, they even tell me, because MacG was saying to me they even want buildings to be expropriated, has been changed by the ANC recently, and even the Minister of the government said in Parliament that he wants to assure people, he guarantees that this means that they can expropriate without compensation. I mean, he's actually said that.
Yeah.
So
Mr.
that's
Musk,
worrying to people. Worries people to spend money if they think their properties can be taken away from them.
All right, Mr. Musk, I want to take one or two of our callers who want to weigh in on this conversation, but just to put for the record that Route 1 for expropriation, which expropriation is done in many jurisdictions around the world. You would know this, having lived in various parts of the world. Expropriation in the public interest and for a public purpose is, par for the cause. Yes, exactly. You and I agree there. So that's Route 1 is with compensation, even in terms of the new Expropriation Act. Pick it up, read it for yourself. That's what it says. Only in exceptional circumstances does it talk about the possibility of nil compensation, having outlined various processes that would be subject to the country's checks and balances. It's worth putting that on the record. All right, hold on a second. Let's hear from Itu. Itu, good morning. In Randburg, you want to respond to what Mr. Musk had to say about corruption in America?
Yes.
Yes. Itu, please go ahead. Itu, do we still have you?
Okay, cool. So I've been following American news reports since the Trump presidency began, and this notion that the reactionary nature of everything that Trump has done, especially in the South African context, I feel that there's not enough reporting about what Trump himself is doing in America and even the basic legalities of the things that he's instituted, such as canceling U.S. aid, not just for South Africa, but across the world. Mm-hmm. He's done that by executive order, which is in essence ruling by decree. He's acting like a king. Now, the countenance to that is that he's exploiting a sort of 90-day window, if I understand American politics correctly, by which he can roll out such things. But the public purse in the United States, like any other government that is democratic, is not controlled by the president. It is controlled by parliament. Mm-hmm. In America, the equivalent, I suppose, of parliament is the Senate. Now, Mr. Musk and Mr. Trump are running rampant over American laws in pursuit of whatever their objectives are by executive order. Even this thing of creating panic in South Africa over land.
Gotcha.
I'd imagine you, as a reporter, would know best about what's happening behind the scenes in terms of other reports.
Sure.
But what Mr. Musk, the senior, the image that is creating of his son as some kind of innocent sort of do-gooder partaking in American justice is certainly, at best, if you ask Americans, leave South Africans out of it, if you ask Americans, that is a far, far, far from the reality of what Elon.
All right, Itu, let's leave it there. Mr. Musk, your response, the image of an innocent do-gooder that you portray, according to Itu, of your son is far from the reality.
No, Elon is a very decent guy. He's not. He's a tech guy. He's basically a tech guy. He just wants things to make sense. He's not doing bad things. So don't worry about that. What did happen was that when I first spoke to him, he thought that when they go into these government departments that are losing so much money in America, that he would actually improve their operation and make it run better and all that sort of thing. But when he got into these departments, he found that they were stealing lots of money. And that was a big surprise to him as well. So, and then the other thing is, we shouldn't be depending on other countries to look after us. We should be looking after ourselves. We have a very powerful, strong country. This country is good. We don't need to rely on other people to pay for us.
All right. Let me take a call from Kialoboha. Good morning to you. You want to weigh in on farm murders and how they relate to this conversation I've been having with Mr. Musk?
Good morning, and thank you so much for taking my call. I need to just, forthright indicate that Mr. Musk seems to be talking from a position of privilege. It's a fact that when you are wearing a white skin, automatically the odds in life would actually not weigh against you. But here's something that I just want to figure out. He sounds exactly like how his son sounds, and this actually attests to the upbringing that Mr. Musk Jr. already has got. He probably was posed and he wore the specs that show him a certain worldview, mostly which seem to be marginalizing to anyone else who is not white.
Gotcha.
But that being the case also, the distortions that he's actually peddling, the fact that farmers are 3 times more at risk of being murdered than anyone else. Look, farmers live in this society, and they cannot be detached, and they cannot necessarily be affected by what is happening in this society.
Let's get him to respond. Thank you for that. So there you have it. 2 propositions for you, Mr. Musk, that you and your son are speaking from a position of privilege, and it sounds like there was something in the upbringing of Elon that has led to him adopting the kind of attitude that he adopts. And then the second one about the distortions about the rate at which farmers in South Africa are killed vis-a-vis the prevalence of murder in our society.
Well, I grew up living in one room with my parents until I was 10 years old in one room in Hillbrow. I had to sleep on a couch. I never had any privilege. I was very, very poor. I had no sandwiches for school. I had no money for school myself. So I can't understand how he thinks I grew up in a life of privilege. The other thing is that in the last 30 years, at any rate, and even before that, a reverse sort of racism has been taking place. So, for example, I have 2 university degrees. I have a postgraduate degree and I have a government ticket for Mines and Works. But I can't get a job in South Africa because I've tried several times in the past to get work when I was a bit younger. And from 1994 onwards, they weren't taking people like me. They took other people. So, no, that's not true. So, but at the same time...
Do you call that racism?
I think we're getting sick... Just a minute, please.
Yeah, okay.
At the same time, I think we're getting sick and tired of this because we are a great country. Where the black people and the white people can't do without each other. We have to look after each other. We can't fight each other anymore. This is stupid. We need to stop and realize that we need each other. We all do everything we can for other people. I've just driven now 20 kilometers to pick up a black man that works for us because he couldn't get his transport today. So I went to fetch him. I mean, we're looking after each other. This is stupid to carry on like this.
So I don't know what you mean by carry on like this. Let me just take you back to that.
Well, we're always like pretending that people are not getting good opportunities and all that kind of stuff. It's not true. It's just simply not true.
Which people are not getting good opportunities?
Well, he's suggesting that I have white privilege. I don't have white privilege. I never got any kind
Not
of
even
privilege.
from the past. Not even from the past. The privilege that was deposited, giving you a head start ahead of, in fact, in the ranking, being a white male South African growing up within the context in which you grew up and making your wealth at that time.
I never even had the right school uniform when I was a kid. I never had the money to buy
so
school uniform.
benefited absolutely nothing from a systemic ranking that placed white male at the top of the pyramid in South Africa under apartheid. You benefited absolutely nothing from that.
They may have placed... In those days, they may have placed Afrikaner whites in a privileged position. They certainly never placed me in a privileged position.
And everything you've achieved has been out of your own merit.
Yes, I've had to work very, very hard to try those days. But at the same time, we were aware of apartheid, and I was with Newsas. We were all Steve Biko was a friend of mine. We used to fight against apartheid because we didn't believe in it. And so not all the white people who had some sort of idea that they must get everything. That's not true. And so we all tried to change things. That's why we changed things.
Mr. Musk?
Now, there's no white privilege. Where's the white privilege now? I mean, if I go to the banks or anywhere, everybody I deal with is a black person. And I find them very good too. And I don't see whites being given jobs now. Maybe long ago, I don't know.
Mr. Musk, I've got to leave it there. Thank you for that. All we wanted from you was really, and you have responded to what we wanted, trying to understand the thinking of your son as best as we can, because we were not seeking to hold you accountable for his actions and his thinking. That's Errol Musk there, who is the father of the businessman Elon Musk. And that brings us to a point where we need to check in now with N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, employers across the country are urged to familiarize themselves with the new regulation regarding the minimum wage to ensure compliance. This after government announced a 4.4% increase from the 1st of next month. The South African Muslim Network has condemned the murder of South Africa's first openly gay imam, Muhsin Hendricks. Hendricks was gunned down at the weekend in Gqeberha, the Eastern Cape, in what's believed to be a hate crime. And the 4 candidates hoping to become Germany's next chancellor after next week's election have engaged in heated arguments during a live television debate. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's been a very busy Monday on Gauteng highways as we've been detailing all morning. Some of the standouts really are the N1 from Pretoria down to Joburg, traffic between Montana and Boerta Avenue, then Brakfontein all the way down to Greyston Drive. The N3 is heavy from Germiston through to Edenvale, northbound from Alex through to Edenvale into a crash going southbound as well. And the R59 remains very heavy, queuing up through Swakoppies towards Michelle Avenue. Taking forever to clear a broken down vehicle on Durban's N2 South. That's why the traffic into Spaghetti Junction remains back as far as Inanda Road. Cape Town, we've had a combination of the new UCT school year, University of Cape Town. It's opening today. It's day one, so there's a lot of extra pressure going into that. And at the same time, some protesting at the top of the UCT, Woolsack Drive being closed going in and out of UCT. So roads through Mowbray, Rosebank, Rondebosch and Newlands are absolutely gridlocking because of all that extra traffic and the disruption in the area this morning. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, sorry. Sometimes, you press the wrong button and then
it's
the wrong
a jungle
thing
out
happens.
there.
Talk to me about Baroka FC and what we've been hearing from their interim coach, Foster Hlongwane.
Yeah, Foster Hlongwane, I think he wants to channel his inner Lion King because he's talking about the jungle his side have to battle for promotion to the PSL. And this is because he's part of the Motsepe Foundation Championship. And his team, Baroka FC, currently 8th on the table, 12 points behind leaders Durban City. Baroka still believe they can make a push in the final 12 games of the season. Hlongwane is confident that the teams above him will cancel each other out. Now, reflecting on their 3-1 Nedbank Cup defeat to Orlando Pirates, the coach says valuable lessons have been learned.
There's a lot. The first thing is if you defend well, you stand a better chance of winning a match. I think we didn't defend well. The second thing is interpreting the rhythm of the game. Sometimes the players, they should learn about that. Where do I have to make that bounce pass, 2 touches, 3 touches, run with the ball, So it's all about the lessons that we need to grow, we need to take from this one. It was not an easy one, like we said, but at the end of the day, I think there's so much that we can take from it.
Let's go to the Banyana midfielder, Kolosa Biyana, believing their Women's Africa Cup of Nations title defence will not come easy, considering the tight competition ahead. South Africa aim to make history and reach back-to-back finals of the African Showpiece for the first time under the leadership of coach Desiree Ellis. Biyana believes some, brilliance will help add something special to the title chase in Morocco.
It's AFCON here. It's going to be difficult to defend that cup, which is what we want to do because there's a lot of new teams, a lot of stronger teams in this year's AFCON. It's not going to be an easy one. It's a first for us trying to defend that cup. So the most important thing is how we prepare for it and how individually players prepare and put in the work.
Proteas captain Themba Bavuma believes the recently completed Tri-Nation series against New Zealand and Pakistan was the perfect warm-up for the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy in Pakistan. The Proteas kick off their campaign against Afghanistan on Friday in Karachi. Here's Bavuma.
The Tri-Series was, important for us to get a proper sight of the conditions. I think we've seen through the Tri-Series how tough it's been at times to get 10 wickets. And obviously as bowlers we've spoken as to, what the different plans and if there's a need for us to change our approach. I think obviously also from a batting point of view, understanding the importance of runs on the board and allowing there to be enough from a scoreboard pressure point of view.
And that's a wrap of your morning brief sport. John Kediker will serve up more around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. So it's a big week for Minister Enoch Godongwana with the budget coming up this week.
That's right, Thulas. And according to PwC, the National Treasury is expected to announce a tax revenue shortfall of about 10 billion rands relative to its expectations in the midterm budget tabled in October. Now, this mainly due to a poor VAT take in December. The consultancy firm does not expect any major tax increases in the upcoming budget, except for the usual sin taxes and maybe an inflation increase in the fuel levy. Standard Bank, in the meantime, expressed concerns about the country's fiscal situation, highlighting the risks to economic growth and the government's revenue trajectory. Now, the government's initial expectation was to raise just over 1.84 trillion rands in taxes, but this figure may be revised downwards. PwC predicts that Treasury will need to lower the revenue target further by about 10 billion rands, and the country's fiscal challenges are further expected to be complicated by public debt, economic uncertainty, and risks to the government's spending trajectory. Initially, to address these challenges, the government implemented a fiscal consolidation strategy, which included limiting growth in departmental spending. Now, the government is also exploring alternative funding mechanisms and reforms to lift economic growth. Despite these efforts, the upcoming budget will be a critical test of Treasury's resolve to stay on course with its fiscal consolidation strategy. Now, the budget is expected to reveal a fiscal deficit of 4.5% of GDP in the year through March 2025, and a debt GDP ratio that is expected to peak in 2025-2026.
Speaking of that then, Ndawling, the so-called pipeline industry is very important for our economic performance and growth. Tell me about Frogfoot and ATC sealing a fiber deal.
So Frogfoot Networks, which is an open access infrastructure unit of telco's company Vox, has acquired the fiber assets of ATC in South Africa for an undisclosed amount. Now, the acquisition is seen as a strategic move to expand Frogfoot's network, enhance service quality, and boost reliability for its customers. According to the company's CEO, Shane Trolley, the acquisition is a natural extension of its partnership with ATC, which began in 2017. Industry analysts view the deal as a testament to Frogfoot's commitment to sustainable growth and investment in high-quality network infrastructure. The acquisition is also seen as a strategic positioning for future growth and expansion as the industry shifts towards co-investment and resource pooling. And it highlights the opportunity for fiber expansion in the country, where about 27 million people lack access to fiber connectivity. This move is part of a broader theme of consolidation in the telco sector as companies look to strengthen their positions and expand their networks to improve their services.
All right, lastly, Ndawling, what kind of a day can we look forward to in the markets here at home and elsewhere in the world?
Markets are likely to kick off the week on a mixed note. The JSE, that is, and it will be following its global peers. Lots of company news to digest on the local front, including updates from Quantum Foods and Afrimat, as well as results from Anglo-American Platinum. On the currency front, the rand starting the week on a strong note on the back of a softer dollar. It's trading at 18.33 to the greenback this hour. Then over in Wall Street, futures are in the green. Trading, however, will be muted on that front as U.S. markets are only back online tomorrow on account of a holiday today. Lastly, in Asia, markets on track to end the week, or rather the day, mixed. Traders there digesting Japanese growth figures as well as Tencent's new AI plans.
Always right on the money. That's Ndawling Lichela. She's had your updates in as far as the economy, business and the markets go for the last 3 hours here on The Morning Brief.
Santam can cover your car in just 2 minutes. That's faster than staring into your fridge, convinced there's nothing to eat, with hopes that something new magically appears. Only to end up ordering the same meal you had yesterday. Get your car covered in just 2 minutes so you can live in the moment, not in the worry. Visit santam.co.za. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
Borussia Dortmund and FC Union Berlin are both searching for a decent position in the top half. They have a big battle for maximum points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch Borussia Dortmund FC versus FC Union Berlin on Saturday, 22 February at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4.
Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
Yeah, as you can imagine, the lines are buzzing. We are taking quite a lot of your calls and we appreciate it. Let me do this. Let me start with Thula in Bedfordview. Thula, good morning to you. And the reason is that you had called earlier on. You want to talk about our economy ahead of budget week.
How are you?
So I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think in the end, it's I don't know whether I heard you well. It's with our debt stands at about 6 trillion.
That's as high, yes, almost 6 trillion. And our cost of servicing that debt are massive. The last figure was about R1 billion a day or something.
Yeah, but in you can never run even in the business if you are borrowing to consume. And that's the problem with most of Africa. We borrow to consume. If you can borrow to invest or to produce, then I don't see this debt go down as long as we keep on. Yeah, but you can never be doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Gotcha.
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
what I wanted to say.
Thank you for that. Crystal clear.
Sure.
Yeah, and many people share that analysis. It's been said over and over the years about what is the purpose for which we borrow money. All right, let me take a few of your calls now. A lot of you reacting to the interview we had with Elon Musk's father, Errol Musk. Let me speak to Momelezi in East London. Good morning to you, Momelezi. Also on that topic of the interview with Errol Musk.
Yeah, good morning, Thulas. Good morning to your listeners. Look, I had to stop on the side of the road and listen to Errol continues to unmask who his family is, and the pun is intended.
I hear that.
And look, I don't know. It's in the tone. For me, it's in the tone. It's in the things you say. And if you tell me that you are something, then I have a problem with that. I need to pick it up and hear you. I don't hear how the Musks have made an effort in this country to try and use the resources we have here to try and bring what they deemed as an injustice to a certain group of people to the world's attention. They didn't do that here. They went away and did it, and they hit us where they thought it's simple. Because whether we want to accept it or not, almost everything is measured by the dollar.
Yeah.
The harm of that gallivanting that they're doing in America, it hits the poorest people here. The people that they go around intending that are in trouble. In fact, they're not talking for black people. They're talking for white people. If there is a family that has put themselves out as the biggest separatists, they should be the Musks. Now, all he has to do is to rein in his son. If he really loves this country and he loves blacks, as he calls us, he really needs to rein in his son. And then he also needs to understand what happens. You referred him to that bill, so that he gives himself time and go through that bill and understand it. And then he needs to stop referencing Matthew when he speaks to you.
Yeah, all right, thank you. That's Momelezi there in East London. Let me take a call from John, Hartepia Sport. Good morning, also on Elon Musk.
No, thank you very much, Thulas. I listen to your show very often. I enjoy it, but I need to comment about this particular interview. Mr. Musk is a very controversial person, I don't want to comment on him or on Elon at this stage. I will wait to see what Elon does in America. My concern, Thulas, and please take this in the way that it's meant. I found that your interview with him on your side was very aggressive, targeted at him with a view to suck out and get certain information and possibly even to sully him. Now, I'm not saying he's right, but I ask you to go back, listen to the interview. I believe in my own mind, the interview was set up with a specific objective. And please go back and listen to the way you dealt with us. Now, this is no reflection on you generally, because
I take it the way it comes.
Generally, I enjoy you, and I think you should apologize to Mr. Musk for the way that you approached him, not for what he is or what he does. It was totally unacceptable.
I hear you, John.
Thanks. Please take that in the right spirit, but please go and listen to yourself again.
I take it in the spirit it's intended. Thank you for that. That's John in Hartbeespoort Sport today. Let me take a call from Simpiwe in Remsach. Good morning. You also want to talk about Elon Musk?
Yes, good morning. Look, good morning, Thulasizwe. Look, I just want to start with the last caller. I agree that you should take input and you should take it with a good spirit. But I must say, and I'm not speaking on your behalf, I must say I found it very frustrating because you could tell that, one, he does not know much about his son, but two, he's a little bit protective of the situation. And it's very frustrating when you're dealing with somebody that you don't know whether he's dabbling between the truth, knowing the truth, and not knowing the truth, and simply just cover up. So I take it. I accept it that we must take input. But it was very frustrating for a lot of us. I'm sure. Now here is the situation. It was a bad interview that I don't want to really talk about it, but I just want to say there is something that he said at the end that if I take nothing else from the interview, I just want to encourage our leaders in South Africa to just take a leaf from a number of other African countries, small countries, that are starting to self-sustain. Look at internally at what kind of resource mechanism exists, and how can a country that is so rich on the African continent start to reconfigure itself and look at how we can self-sustain. I don't agree that you must simply pull aid in the way that they've done it. I suppose in the worst of situations, there exists an opportunity. Maybe we should look at opportunities in this as a country that must stand on both its legs.
Gotcha.
What an all. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for that, Simpiwe in Remsach. Do stand by. I will take more of your calls and your WhatsApp voice notes in just a moment. Stand by for me.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Two crash scenes on the Krugersdorp Highway this morning on your way to Pretoria. One just after the Lanseria exit towards Diepsloot. Another in the usual spot between the R55 and Brakfontein interchange. N14, the Ben Skuman up to Euthius Road's very heavy. A lot of traffic. N1, M1 this morning through Midrand right down to Greyston Drive. And if you're coming into Central, Joburg is jam-packed this morning. On Monday through to Parktown, that's on the Mike 1. The Boysons Road option up through Selby into sort of Lutuli House territories heavy. And even Joe Slovo coming up through Doornfontein's heavy backlogs there. That may be flooding related. It always floods in that tunnel when we've had heavy rain, and we did have heavy rain this morning. M2 standing from Denver all the way through to the Crown interchange as well. Durban, the breakdown still with us. N2 south at Spaghetti Junction. It's taking forever to clear. Traffic remains heavy coming down from Inanda Road. And Cape Town, just very heavy pressures this morning around the Rosebank, Newlands and Rondebosch areas. It's day one of the new academic year at UCT, so there's a lot of extra traffic. And on top of that, the EFF are protesting and closing Woolsack Drive at the entry and exit point of the top end of UCT. So routes like Main Road and Belmont Road, Lisbeck Parkway, Campground Road, really significant pressure. And of course the M3 is heavy from Constantia right through to UCT as well. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Manukelani, Lwazi and Matthew, please don't go anywhere. I'm coming to you next to take your calls. I just want to fit in one or two voice notes. We've not done well this morning in terms of taking the WhatsApp voice notes.
Good morning, SAFM. Good morning, Thulasizwe. My name is Josie Bush from here, Chimiston, Rondapelt. My short take on Mr. Elon's interview now. I think the character really we can all see and we can all hear that what we are hearing from his son is what he learned from his father, same as Donald Trump. I think we are dealing with three similar people and their presidents too. Thank you very much, Thulasizwe.
All right, thank you for that. And the funny thing is, in one podcast that Errol Musk took part in, he actually reveals that at some point they were on opposite ends of the spectrum as far as the support for Donald Trump is concerned. Errol Musk says he supported Donald Trump, whereas Elon at the time in 2020 actually did not. And in fact, Elon and others found it to be ridiculous that Errol Musk was a supporter of Donald Trump. How things have changed over the last few years.
Thulasizwe, hope you're well. I just want to ask something. I think it comes from the black community more. Just because did apartheid mean that if you were white, you were gonna get a privilege just for being white? In a similar fashion, does that mean if you are black, you get a privilege in this?
Yeah, what a complex question that you ask. The first part of the question, I would answer yes, about privilege. If you were white under apartheid, absolutely yes. There's no time to go through it all, but just your mere presentation meant that you could make certain decisions about where you live, the kind of jobs you could access, the ease with which you could approach financial institutions for assistance, etc., in a manner that a black person, any black person in the country, could not even begin to compare, no matter how competent and how enterprising they could be. That's the first part. The second part, does it mean that just because you are black, you are privileged? I would say, in terms of our constitution, it shouldn't be that way, right? But there is provision for advancement, is the word that is used. Advancement of people affected by historical patterns of discrimination. I think that's the wording. Does it amount to privilege, quote unquote, black privilege? I don't know to what extent. That's the part where I say this is quite complex. But what I do know is that it is allowed for in our constitution, and in fact, it is commissioned, I would say, by our constitution, so that our equality is substantive and then it becomes sustainable. Because if it's not, it can never be sustainable. We'll believe that we have a stability in the country, but actually it will be founded on the wrong foundation that can easily be swept away. Manukelani in Cape Town, you want to talk about AfriForum this morning?
Yes, good morning to us and the listeners at home.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Thulas, Thulas, I'm very grateful, honored to hear us now. We are come together condemning the things of AfriForum. However, us as a truck driver, we've been struggling a lot. We've got another program, so-called S2A farming program, who used to migrate the people here to go and work a seasonal job in America. The very same AfriForum has been omitted us to grab that opportunity. They're portraying us as the black people are the rapists, everything at USA Farm Labor. We've got our colleagues who are working there. We have sent them so that they can able to figure out why most of 121 applicants of S2A farmer have been rejected.
Yeah.
On the later stage, we find that the very same AfriForum who are going consistently with father of Errol Musk. Now I'm happy for South Africa that they came together, they hold their hands to condemn with a strong attempt those things.
Right. Manukelani, thank you for that important question that you raised there. Loazi in the Eastern Cape, good morning. You also want to reflect on the interview with Errol Musk?
Yes, thank you very much. And good morning to you. I hope Errol is still listening, because if really he wants to save, if his son wants to save American taxpayers' money, what they need to do is to respond to what American taxpayers have been asking for all these decades, which is to stop the billions of dollars that they are using to fund genocidal Israel. That is what will restore America's standing, and that is what will also help with the sales of his own Tesla, which is suffering because of what he is doing to the world. And also it will also help restore the dignity of the Palestinian people. That's all I want.
Thank you for that. That's Loazi in the Eastern Cape. Matthew in Cape Town, good morning. Also reflecting on Errol Musk.
Yes, Thulasizwe, morning to the listeners. Look, the one part of the interview where we spoke about the $500 million that's going from the US aid, I don't think we should eliminate everything that is said with regards to only 10% of that money going to the intended need. Because you must remember, we just came from a Zondo Commission where the culture of corruption is rife in this country. So I'm not 100% surprised. I am not surprised that something like that is actually happening within the non-profit organizations that are supposed to roll out the treatment for HIV. And one of the things that we really need to work, I think we need a better ideology that everybody can stand together and work together, because if we're going to go and continue with the blaming and the finger pointing of you are privileged, no, you are privileged now, no, you are privileged. Well, people are not actually moving forward because we are finger pointing every single time.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we really need to work on. I know people are sad, people are frustrated, people are actually, I know it's heavy and it hurts. I mean, my people as well, the colored people, we are fighting for our rights. People are dying in our streets. This weekend, a 3-year-old died. Come on, guys. Because of a stray bullet in our communities. And it hurts, but we need to solve this problem. We cannot go on like this, guys. I agree with him. Let us find a way to get through this. Let us find a way to have peace in our hearts. Let us move forward. We cannot blame each other anymore because people are dying. Our people is dying, and we're going to need each other because we need strength and we need one another, please.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that call, Matthew in Cape Town, making a call that we should find solutions. Let's work together and stop with the finger pointing. I've got nothing to add to that. And I would say you are seeing elements of that, of South Africans pulling together and basically saying that hashtag no DNA, just RSA. You are seeing quite a lot of that, and that is quite encouraging. Black and white South Africans saying, actually, what you are seeing caricatured and depicted elsewhere, that's not us. We can actually depict and describe ourselves even better. Hashtag no DNA, just RSA. All right, that's how we come to the end of today's edition of the Morning Brief. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your engagement. The Talking Point with Kethi Mohlahlana is up next after the news here on SAFM.
In our top stories, employers urged to familiarize themselves with the minimum wage regulations, and murder of South Africa's first openly gay imam condemned. Good morning.